Hello and welcome to the From the Spirit World podcast, a legendary Avatar, The Last Airbender, and the Legend of Korra podcast for overlyanimated.com. This is the FTSW Rewatch, the definitive Legend of Korra fans rewatch from the biggest Avatar fans you know. We're reflecting on Legend of Korra 14 years later after podcasting on every episode when it originally aired. I'm your host, Dylan, and today I'm joined by Mel.
Hello.
And Allie.
Hey.
We are continuing our Korra Book 1 discussion. This is part 2 of our ongoing conversation about revisiting Legend of Korra Book 1, which we have rewatched. So check out the Part 1 podcast for a lot of context here. But you make sure you can subscribe from the Spirit World or Overly Animated anywhere. Search those on wherever you listen to podcasts, and spoilers for all of Avatar and Korra. So this we've already talked about the season overall, Korra as a character, fun things like that. In this podcast, we're getting into the love square, Mako, Korrasami, Amon's identity, probably the things people are most interested in hearing us talk about. At the very least, we're going to talk about all that. So we're going to start with revisiting the love square. Now, I will say we've already talked a lot about it in various forms. So for context, I would say check out part 1. But I would say Mel thought Mako was worse. Me and Allie were maybe more forgiving. How about the love square overall? I can't remember. Well, you may have said that. You may have said this, Mel. But are you more, you know, in tunes or just like amused, generally accepting of what they're doing with all the melodrama than maybe we were at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it helps not being the same age as the characters as
Yeah,
well. I don't
yeah.
know. Like you can watch it for
That's true.
entertainment in a way. At the time it would have been different. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also part of just like embracing like, okay, where Avatar was about a group of young teens, in some cases preteens, doing this very specific thing where they are sort of locked in. Like um, with Korra, it's a bunch of like, I forget how old they're supposed to be, like between the ages of like 17 and 19, I
Yeah.
think, in season 1. But like they're a bunch of older teenagers who, yes, definitely have stuff going on, but it's not like world altering things at the moment. Like they're making time to go to pro bending practice and stuff. So it's like this slice of life stuff that I am not normally a huge slice of life person, but I think getting to see it in this context was fun. So I wasn't really that like down about it this time. And also like it makes sense. Like again, like a bunch of like, you know, hot teens get together and they're gonna sort of have like hot teen drama. Like that's what it is. And essentially everyone by the end of the show, with the exception of like Mako and Bolin, and I mean, I guess Asami and Bolin never actually dated. It felt like in season 2 that they were like kind of testing those waters, but everyone dates each other at some point, essentially. So I don't know. I just think I was able to go at it more lighthearted, and found enjoyment in it in a way that I didn't expect.
Nice. Yeah, Allie, how about you? Was it more lighthearted for you, rewatching it now?
For sure. Yeah, more lighthearted. Not, I mean, again, I don't remember how annoyed I was with it at first. I feel like maybe more recently, at least like reading what people are complaining about it, I like it would annoy me thinking about like the implications, but the actual execution, to echo everything Mel said, I think was done fine to our points that they are like hormonal teenagers. And I mean, again, I don't remember who I was the most annoyed with at the beginning. Maybe it was Korra. I wrote here, Mako sucks. Asami's too good for literally everyone. Korra is blameless. I don't care. She never had real friends her age before, so she deserves the most slack. But I also am more forgiving of Mako in, I think it was 105. Is that? Yeah, it's Spirited Competition, because he
Hmm.
had a point. Like, she maybe not completely knowingly, but she was using Bolin, like, and she knew that he wanted to be romantic and she was just not feeling it. So, like, I mean, but who cares? They're kids. Like, they're gonna work it out. I think it was fine. Definitely not as dramatic as we were making it out to be when we were their age. And again, to Mel's point, like, it helps to be older. It's part of growing up.
I feel like at the time, it's easy for us to be that age and to be like, okay, finally, we're getting the adult Avatar show. This can be serious and be like, but this isn't this. We're doing this like dumb romance drama that we make fun of in other like books and shows, and it's like this isn't as legitimate as we're wanting. Like we want the serious stuff. We want what we loved about Avatar. We want the darker stuff. And so I feel like it was easy for us to not be into it. But with distance, I just think it's fun. It's not my favorite, but I like melodrama in general, and I like these types of shows. It's generally not in if I'm watching like a melodramatic like streaming show or something. It's not a show that I'm taking as seriously as like Legend of Korra. So I understand the annoyance in its inclusion here, but I think it's fun and its handling within the season. I think is fine. In general, I was like much more tame on everything that was happening. I'm like, okay, like this is it's a lot. Is this the romance that I would have liked the show to pursue with Mako and Korra? No, but I think it's like an interesting thing for the Avatar world to explore. I found it pretty inoffensive, everything. I
I
wrote
will
down there.
say I skipped the kiss because of the secondhand embarrassment. I just fast forwarded
You couldn't
those
even
bits.
Like when
in episode
she
5.
When
kissed
she kisses
him,
him, and then
yeah.
when Bolin has the flowers and runs off
It's
crying.
there's some amazing character animation though in that whole sequence. It's really
Yeah, the animation was great. I also had a note that said Avatar's hearing "I'm confused" by the person they're interested in means okay, I'm going to kiss them, because we definitely talked about
yeah,
that also.
unfortunately.
Well, I think that we probably brought that up when it happened too,
We did.
right?
I
Like it's very
totally
much
remember we
like
did.
your ang is showing. Like, oh my
Mhm.
god,
I think
he
so.
took the wheel there.
I liked what Mel said in the beginning in part 1 where it's like they wouldn't have gotten into all this romance drama in Avatar because I mean they specifically had that scene where Katara is like, no, not right now during the war, and so like, hey, it's fun. It's kind of fun to actually get into all of it now, and now it would I would have preferred a straight romance, and I still am hankering for an Avatar world, just kind of normal romance explored throughout the show. I mean, they did it with Katang in retrospect.
And even with side romances like Suka and Mako,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like I guess Suga kind of got the closest to that, where it's like they were maintaining a relationship during active total war
And through long distance, now that I'm
and
thinking
through
about it
long
too.
distance.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I guess
Uh,
a little bit, I don't know, you get that with Zuko and May too,
Yeah.
before like through the
mhm.
beginning of season 3.
Yeah,
Which
They
was
have drama
fun.
in season 3.
and we'll get to see Makorra dating next season, and then we get Bolin and Opal at some point. But I get Janora and Kai, are they? I mean, see, technically are they? Okay, well,
They're
I'm
like, they
excited
don't
to get
have
into all
any
of it.
scenes together after they're dating.
That's sad. I wrote down they're cheaters, but other than that, it's pretty inoffensive. Makorra. That's my Makorra
They're
analysis.
cheaters. They meaning Mako, because he's the only one who's cheating.
Yeah, I was gonna say Korra is not like beholden to like, yes, like it wasn't the best thing to do, but I am always of the opinion that the person in the relationship is the most at fault in
Of
these
course,
situations.
of course.
And again, because of her upbringing, she did not know when to kiss a boy. Maybe.
Has she ever kissed a boy? Unclear.
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, no, not
There's
that
a lot
I'm
of fanfic about that. A lot of it, like, oh, there's some young White Lotus guy or girl.
Oh well, let me bring that up. I forgot about the hot ship in episode 1 of Korra was Howl and Korra.
Was that the name that we gave him, or was that he had a
I,
name?
I don't remember actually. I didn't hear us talk about that on the podcast. Howl is just the one of the White Lotus guards in episode 1, and
he's
so
there
people
at the
are
gate when she's leaving.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
the
the
first.
guy at the
Yeah,
gate.
I remember this because he sort of gives a look when she is like, "I'm going out," and he's like, and she's like, "I won't go far." Like, and I was like, "Oh, there's history here."
So
And there
that's the
wasn't.
original core. I mean, it's definitely a joke ship, and I don't think I think Howl is not his official name, but yeah. So there
There's no way.
must have been a fan given name. But
I
that was
like it.
it was a meme we referenced. So I'll go through a bunch of memes we had on the podcast at the time. But
Oh, jeez.
that yeah, we referenced Howler a bunch of times. Makorra, I would people be surprised to hear? I'm not saying I was shipping Makorra rewatching it. I don't know if I would ever go that far, but
Wow.
I was fine with Makorra this season for 80% of the time. I was
I really have
fairly
to listen to the old
fine with it.
podcasts. I do not
No, no,
remember
no.
everybody being so negative
No,
on
no, no. This
Makorra.
is when I mean this. I mean, yeah, me now. This is me talking
No,
now
that's what
on
I mean.
rewatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was not, we were not the Makorra fans.
I don't remember that at all.
But yeah, we took a lot of basically the way I would characterize it at the time. Do I have any reference stamps written down for this time? No. It's I would characterize it as it was okay. We weren't like specifically shipping it other than like Allie, and then we got into the stuff where like he puts her after she's missing, he takes her off of Naga, and Nasami's watching on, and then we're like, oh my god, this is like so that portion. Once we start to get into that stuff later on, we were like not happy with anything that was
Mm,
going on. And to be fair, that's the like the
that's
cheatery
the worst
side when you
part.
get into it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then if the show does the show handle it well, I guess not. You would have preferred a more explicit breakup, like they have. We're talking on the finale podcast. Like, was this them supposed to be breaking up? You would
Mm.
certainly prefer that, but I just found it fairly inoffensive. It's just boilerplate romantic drama. I'm not really offended by it. Even the cheating stuff, I'm not really offended by it. And there's two episodes where I'd
Mm.
say I actively like the romance of Makorra. That's
Which
the
ones?
Revelation, which is their big
Okay.
bonding episode,
Yeah.
episode 3. And then in Endgame, I actually like in the finale,
Mm.
if you can isolate the last episode, I think it's the Makorra in the finale is actually really good because I think Mako in the finale takes on a traditional love interest role in the show.
Mm.
He pulls off a move to help the hero with the light he lightnings like Amon, right? And then Korra, like he's in trouble, and Korra unlocks airbending to protect him, to like protect her love. And then he's there for her at the end, and then they have their kiss. I feel like it's like a traditional kind of like a teen girl type of love story, like when he is in the role of like what would be the female love interest, except it's Mako, like pretty Mako.
Hmm.
Like I think that's kind of fun. Like it's not super narratively interesting, but when he's just in like a traditional love interest role, but it's a gender swap, like I think it works like it does in the
Mm.
finale.
Yeah.
Other what Allie? What's your other Makorra highlights or things that you actively didn't like watching it this time?
Didn't like or did like?
Both. What did you
I
have
mean,
a
I
strong
definitely
reaction
I
to it
agree with you. I
then?
love the revelation.
Yeah.
I had a note about how their
What
banter was really
is
good.
the revelation?
Like
Sorry, I was
honestly, I
just
still don't even
thinking.
know. I like the your best friend is a polar bear dog. Somehow that makes perfect sense. I'll take that as a
That's
compliment,
nice.
City Boy. Their banter, I think, is objectively pretty cute in this episode. Um, what else? I think that's like the best for me. And I mean, like I do agree with you that like it is nice having the guy be the love interest instead of the other way around. But even in what is it, Endgame, when like he is like the fact that he saves Korra doesn't turn that trope on its head, which is fine because like obviously it's inevitable because she's the one who had her bending taken away. Um, Confession. I mean, I don't know. I think Endgame is pretty rough, but I understand what you're saying. The stuff that I didn't like was him. I don't. I think most of where he was really awful was the aftermath, where he's like, well, yeah, if you don't drop this, consider our friendship over. It's like, oh, okay. Um, you just really suck.
Also, all 3 weeks of their friendship, like, you know,
And meanwhile, you're like the first one of the first few friends that she's had. So that's just not cool. Like maybe hear her out. She is the avatar. Um, I have oh yeah, out of the past, I have Mako is annoying and awful in the middle. And then at the end, I have Mako is so awful. Jesus, man, your girlfriend is right there. I think it's when they're walking off after the Airbender family flees. Just the way that he treats Asami after Korra gets kidnapped is the worst. Not even the way that he treats Korra, but the way that he like just drops Asami and doesn't even like communicate with her really sucks. It's much more rough for me this time around.
Oh, more
Especially
rough.
liking
Well,
Asami as much as I do.
you were
Yeah,
into it
I
at the
do
time.
think that is like I do think I like actually enjoyed the dynamics pre like that stuff, right? Because after that, it's like, oh, he was making weird conscious choices to do
Yeah.
this, and then is getting mad when Asami's like, hey, I don't know, can you not hit on another person in front of me for
like
2
while
seconds?
we're like still exclusively supposedly together, like at least
like
communicate with me.
that is where I think he actually comes across as like a not like he comes across very badly. But prior to that, like like I don't have a problem with like I actually thought it was really funny the conversation like Bolin's talking about asking Korra out and Mako's like, I don't know, I think it would make more sense for me to go for Asami. And he's like, really, oh my god. Like I thought that that whole thing was very, very fun. And like I said, I like Spirit of Competition better than I thought I would. But yeah, no, he sort of like can't defend anything he does in the back half of the season as fun or comedic. It's just sort of not, it's very unlikable.
I like him having a strong reaction to Korra coming back after she'd been gone. It's they're obviously going for like, I didn't realize how much you meant to me.
How much I cared about you,
Which it's successful. I think it fits with the melodramatic tone of everything, and that those two characters. It's maybe the handling of Asami not like having a corresponding anything going on with her, but like it feels intentional. Feels like they're trying to like make it messy and make
yeah, for sure.
Intentionally like have him hurt Asami and be like questionable. So I guess Mel, do you think it's like is that the portion that makes you not like Mako even more this time around? And do you think it's like bad narrative or just like on him making him unlikable as a character?
I think it's like he just comes across as unlikable, and there's not really like one thing that bugs me. And this is not to say that this is like a bad thing and like this is like a writing flaw. It's like in terms of like me as an audience member, one thing that sort of like bugs me is when there are kind of disagreements or like arguments and stuff in the sense of like especially romantic like storylines, and like we don't wrap it up with a kind of like acknowledgement of like, hey, that was not cool or what have you, like, and it makes sense because like, you're not gonna like in the middle of this sit down and be like, let's go over what you did wrong and what I did wrong, like you're not gonna decompress and debrief and stuff. So I get it. It's just, I felt like at the end, like it was just tough to watch him be kind of like a jerk in a way that was very unlikable. But he's meant to be likable. Like, and the show knows he's, not being like the best boyfriend, but like he's ultimately supposed to be a very likable character. And I feel like he dipped at times to being very unlikable. But I will say, I do think the messiness of it all serves well to like really justify what happens with them in season 2. Because I'll be interested to see how I feel about it, but I actually feel like I enjoyed the like absolute just toxic nonsense that happens with the three of them in season 2, because it's just so ridiculous and spicy and messy. So, and I think, yeah, to your point, yes, like having the basis of their relationship essentially be like, oh, like I had a really strong reaction to you being in mortal peril and it's making me understand some things, and it's like, okay, that's great. And what we learned in season 2 is like that's not sustainable for an actual relationship, which I think is actually like a really cool thing to see, especially on programming that's meant for like younger viewers to see, like, yeah, like the fairy tale ending, like there is always a sort of like, and then what happened next, and where they end up going with that, I actually think is really strong. But yeah, I don't know. I just can't get over the water thing. Like, I was just really, because I was like, oh right, yeah, like Pema's going through, like I remember this. She does like like her and Asami are like doing dishes, like they're doing work for people. And I remembered her having like her labor pains or whatever. I was like, oh right, I remember the baby comes like kind of early, this is familiar to me. And it's like, oh yeah, wow, Asami is like actually reacting really well with like, oh my god, like do you need a doctor? And then here comes Mako, like make water for Korra, and it's just like read the room. But I don't know. I mean, he's supposed to be a dumb teenager. Like, it is what it is. It's just looking back on it, it wasn't, that aspect of it wasn't that enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, we're certainly very up. So let me bring in some stuff from the podcast at the time. So these are from the 2012 podcast. I mentioned Ali calling Mako hot and shipping Makorra. This was in the episode 2 podcast. In episode 2, we said we're already really annoyed by Makorra shippers on Tumblr. And this was, I believe this was even
yeah, that
before the
sounds like
show.
something we would say at 18.
Before the show officially premiered. Like this was like from preview viewings on Korra Nation, which I'll talk about. But like this was like not even into the season yet. We're already annoyed by Makorra shippers on Tumblr.
That's the thing, not the actual ship, but the shippers is the important thing.
I will say this. I remember the night of the finale, the show's entire finale. In addition to the jubilation, I remember there being Makorra, like some real pissy
it
stuff
continued
on Tumblr
throughout the show for sure. So we will talk about the Makorra frogs, and we'll get to all that later. So
Makorra frogs.
We'll get that. That's not yet, but this is fun. The episode Spirit of Competition podcast. Okay, we'll come back to it, but I noted down 0 mentions of Korrasami or even the possibility of Korra and Asami being together. That was the big romance episode. I want to bring in Mel's shipping battleship. So then this is
what is this?
So Mel at the time in the episode 5 podcast, this is how I would summarize it. Mel's like, I'm not shipping anything, so I'm really just like tracking all the ships and how many holes each of the ships has. So every time a flaw happens in one of the ship, I'm like marking a hit on their battleship. So you said every ship has.
I was supposed to be in college, like doing.
I think that proves that you were in college.
We
were. You weren't doing work.
We were not doing work.
That's what college is.
Mel said, everyone has at least one hit by now. Here are your shipping battleship contenders. This is as of episode 5. Makorra is the aircraft carrier. Bora is the battleship. Masami is the submarine. Mako and Asami. Bolsami. Bolin and Asami. So I guess that was an option. Bolsami is a random boat, a bigger dinghy. And then the 5th battleship was Janucci, which was maybe my fault, but that was
yeah.
Janora, and Scoochie is this random kid from like episode 3, who we shipped with Janora just because there's no one else to ship with. And Janucci is the tugboat. And you said, I guess Janucci's winning because there's no hits on the Janucci tugboat, despite them never having met. So that was the conclusion to your gag. So I guess you were like, everyone's so flawed is I guess the point of the shipping battleship.
Which
I was waiting for
maybe I was cooking a little bit because you know what, that's not a bad thing, I would say, and I feel like that is a theme throughout. Is like they stick with these relationships over the course of time, which I think is interesting. Like we said before, Suka was the only one that really got to be like a long-term relationship that we watched, and we sort of had, and like Mako, but we sort of watched it have its ups and downs and different little things. Like here, like we actually get to see a lot of that with, Makorra here, and then into season 2, and then even a little bit into season 3 with him just being like them not really knowing how to like be around each other a ton, and then like in season 3 into season 4 with Bolin and that lady that he's with. What's
Ginger?
her name?
Opal?
No.
Oh, Opal, Jesus.
Opal. Jeez, God,
Ginger.
I like could not.
Well, you remember Ginger
really?
before Opal.
Oh, because of
Ginger?
the trauma that's there.
Ginger was the actress, right?
Also,
Yeah, in book
Eska
2.
is
Sorry, I
more
forgot
of
you
the
were
love
talking about
interest
book 3.
than
Oh my God, and
Korra.
Eska. Wow, I
Oh,
forgot about her.
yeah.
But anyway, my point is like it sort of tracks these things, and the show's willing to sort of stick with it and talk about different dynamics and different messinesses. So, I do think, it is again like a a positive for like the show doing things that Avatar wasn't able to do. And I don't know, maybe they were trying to do it a little bit with how Katang ended in season 3, or not ended, but that whole weird dynamic they had, but it was more successful here.
I really appreciate the perspective that you had about like how Makorra ended in book 1 and then like how they don't work in book 2.
Yeah,
Which
no, I
which
think
is
it's
such an
I think it's
interesting. We'll
interesting.
talk about it in the book too, but it's such an interesting direction because like they intended to end the show with them together, right? Like, and so then they reverse course. So interesting. Episode 9 podcast. I say about Makorra, it's horrible. I say if they do a big romantic ending in the finale, it'd be a huge flaw with the series. And then I said them, this is the best quote:
Amazing.
Asami's life is being ruined before our eyes.
It's true. It's true.
This is what
She
I'm talking.
loses
This
her
is what I'm
father.
talking about. We were very high on her very early.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
Oh
yeah, we
my
were,
god.
but I mean, that we're
It's
like
true.
so passionate about it. In the episode 11 podcast, we're like, there was no breakup. They're complaining about that. Okay, one of my big flaws in the finale podcast, one of my big flaws with the finale was Mako and Makorra. Ben's defense of Mako was Mako's not a jerk. He's just emotionally immature. Me and Mel say he is a jerk for not considering Asami's needs and not breaking up with her. It's kind of just a summary of all of our debate. And then I compare Makorra to Edward and Bella.
Oh god.
That sounds right.
Except I say it was better. They were Edward and Bella, like Edward wasn't as bad as Mako. Was kind of my point.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's
Which is
fair.
funny. So speaking of, I wrote down in my notes. This is back to present, Dylan. My notes for Makorra. I want to hear Mel's takes on this. What do we think of Mako as like a romantasy hero? Speaking in modern terms, Mako is like your version of is it Zayden? Yeah, in Fourth
Zayden.
Wing.
Yeah,
Like
no, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's similar to like we talked about the draw of Zutara being proto um romantasy. I do think Mako's closer. I have not read these books.
What
I
books are
know
we
what
talking
happens
about, to
in
be
them.
clear?
The
you've not
Fourth
read.
Wing
I thought
books.
from our so we're referencing the Netflix live action season 2 podcast. I thought you had read the books based on our discussion
No,
there.
I just know. I just no. I know what happens in them. Like I've listened to
I
enough.
have read those 3 books for the record.
Yeah,
I think
I've
Zayden
listened.
is a
Yeah,
better version of Mako, is what I would say.
yes, and I think Mako is closer to Zayden than like Zuko is, but maybe that's wrong. But no, I think you're. I think he. It's sort of an like I think you're right. Like I think he sort of like fulfills a similar role of like today people would like jump the gun I guess and call it like enemies to lovers, and it's like no, it's not enemy. It's like he's a jerk. They don't like each other for 2 seconds, and then they do. Um, so I think it's that dynamic. Like I think you're right that it's sort of like the where Zuko and Katara are the like proto version of that. This is like we're now dipping our toes in the pool of romantasy bad boys with sad tragic pasts. Which, by the way, we did not reference last episode, the Mako being Batman of it all.
Oh, because his parents were killed in front of him?
Yeah.
And then he winds up
Yeah.
being, well, no, Batman's not a, well, is Batman a detective?
Yes. Originally, yes.
I know
Batman,
people say that Asami is more of Batman because she has gear and she's rich.
yeah.
And her mother
The
was
original
killed.
Batman comics, he was a detective.
Okay. All right.
We probably
But
referenced
yes,
that,
it
but I
was
don't remember
mainly
what.
that Batman's parents were like murdered in front of him by a mugger, and that's what happened to Mako.
We also didn't talk about how everybody is murdered by a firebender again. I was annoyed with that this time around more than I was last time. I'm like, it's so be
Was
original,
Asami's
please.
mom murdered by a
Yes.
firebender too?
Yes.
Wow.
And Amon's fake story is that his parents were murdered by firebenders.
Right, which you
Wow.
could argue
Low
they're
hanging
playing with
fruit.
it
That's
there.
what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
get a little more creative, y'all.
Well, Amon's playing into the trope, but
No, yeah, Amon
like,
aside, Asami and Mako and Bolin all losing their parents to a firebender. Maybe it's the same guy.
yeah, it's interesting.
There's a dude out there. He is on the loose. We need to do
That-
something.
Well, in
about
the
this
him.
definitely
comics, we
sounds-
find out who murdered Mako and Bolin's parents, but Asami, we don't know. No,
I
we do
don't
know
remember
it's
that at
the
all.
Agni Kai triad, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Oh, anyway. Things I would not remember any part of is the Korra comics, except for maybe the Turf Wars, is it the Korrasami, just the
Turf Wars.
Korrasami parts.
But the Mako
Anyway.
and Bolin one just came out last year.
Oh, okay. So I
What
definitely
happened in that one?
They were tracking down their family history, and they found the people who were responsible for their parents' murder.
And they found out their mom went to a village and changed her face.
Pretty much, yeah.
And had a whole
They do
other
go to a
family.
village. They find out that
that's
her
what
mom
happens at
escaped
everyone.
a fascist, like, yeah, that kind of.
Okay. Anyway, to conclude the you could see this season of Korra as like a romantasy book, which by the way, the modern, the current romantasy designation clearly like existed in various forms. Twilight this season, like it's been around. But I think you could credit this season by saying that this is more real than like Mako is like such a messy presentation. Like he's intentionally doing questionable things versus like a fourth wing is not going to show Zayden in that light. He's like doing bad things, but we're always kind of on his side and on Violet's side with him. So maybe the show has courage by like making Makorra and Mako unlikable at various parts. Like at least it's kind of interesting. It's not like this fantasized version of like it's intentionally very messy.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely I think for the sake of story, it is probably good that everyone is kind of like nobody comes out of that except Asami looking like a good person. I would say.
Yeah. And interested to see how it continues. I mean, I've seen into the first half of book 2, but it's certainly interesting how we continue it. Okay, how about the Korrasami of it all? Continuing the shipping. So we're gonna call this segment Korrasami Watch 2K26, which I don't think we say things like that 2K anymore, but that
I had to think about that for a second.
2K26. What the big question we're gonna ask each season? What about? So we'll check in at the time to the fandom, but were there any real? First, let's go to the actual show. We put Allie, a correspondent Allie, on this case. Were there any real
We
Korrasami
got boots on the ground.
building blocks in book
sideways.
1? Because obviously Korra and Asami ends up together, but we didn't know it during book 1. Allie, reporter Allie, did you find any Korrasami evidence throughout the season?
I mean, broadly speaking, I do have notes on like not every episode, but like I had a lot. Building blocks. I would say if you're really looking just like from book 1 on its own, no way. Friendship, yes, which is beautiful. And then if you remember what happens in book 4, if you're delusional, there's like a lot of building blocks, I guess.
So okay, so that's the basic question I'm gonna start. So you say book 1 on its own, you genuinely don't see any Korrasami romantic.
Well,
building blocks.
I mean, personally, because I'm a different, like even not knowing where book 4 is gonna go, like I am a very different person than I was 12 years ago, 14 years ago.
Right.
I think something like no matter if it's like 2 girls or 2 guys, something could always be there. And it for me, if it starts as a friendship, it's very important to show in media, I think, especially with LGBTQ relationships. Like as much as we may talk about like, oh, I love like the enemies to friends to lovers drama, it is really nice to see just friends start and like they never let a guy get in the way of their friendship, even though the friendship is very minimal, even in this season. I think the more natural flow of like the way they just start getting on with each other, I would say then like yes, the building blocks are there, but it's all through the lens you're watching. Like I have a very queer lens of viewing now as opposed to when I did in 2012. So honestly, I would say that it is there for me. I don't know if like for the average viewer, but audiences are different now. I really am not sure.
You're giving yeah, there's a lot of perspectives in what you're saying. So yeah, we don't have the same vantage point, which I will go over soon with the podcast. But Mel, before we get into Ali's evidence, looking back, do you think that there was, do you view Korrasami as romantic in book one at all? And do you think that they were intending that in book one? Maybe two kind of separate questions.
No, I don't. I mean, I think it, they're just, sort of doing, I mean, friendship stuff. And even that they're not doing, that fantastic because Korra and Asami don't have a ton to do with each other. But now I don't see any early intentions of that in book one.
Yeah, and I understand what Ali's saying that like if you look in the totality and you try to track their relationships, I want to hear that. But yeah, personally, I didn't see literally any romantic
For me, I guess like, well,
evidence from
not
them.
maybe not romantic, but like
I'm
something
able to
budding.
compartmentalize and like look at this in isolation, maybe more so than other people. But the
It's
fact that I'm
very
able to
hard for
just
me.
like look at this season, I don't think any of the like I see a lot of memeing in social media. It's like, oh, the scene in the pool, the race car scene. I don't think any of those were really romantically intended whatsoever. But I want to hear Ali your perspective, Ali,
Well,
on
maybe
what.
not romantically intended, but it just shows how well they can work together. Not like I do not think, for clarification, I don't think that they were like intending to write them as romantic from book one,
Yeah.
but I think it can be read maybe in a way that like, oh, like you could see that Mako and Korra are similar, maybe in the like quote unquote wrong ways, but like with Asami and Korra, they could be similar in the right ways because they both like maybe are not told they're too much, but like people underestimate them just because they're women and blah blah. So it's like a good basis for friendship, and then maybe something else could happen. I don't know, just because they're two girls, it doesn't mean they can't. But like I don't think they were setting it up. But I think the perspective is it's there. It's super minimal, but it's there.
What were your favorite scenes? What did you write down the most from with the building blocks?
Definitely, it was it episode 7? Yeah, when everybody goes to Asami's mansion.
Hmm.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
she like starts off, she's like, "Oh, hey Korra, I'm glad you're here. Like, do you want to come to the mansion?" Like she's just trying to be very friendly, even when like Korra's like not having any of it. And she gets her to open up when she's really trying to not think the worst of her, but not really let her in. And then when she does finally open up, she's like, "Okay, I like really had you wrong." I'm like, I don't know. It feels not romantic overtly, but I prefer when things are subtle also, more than I did when I was younger. Because Makorra is like so overt, and in that sense, watching it now, I'm like, okay, it's like just get on with it already, if that makes sense. I mean, I
Would you
have
say it's
delusional notes
like
too.
okay, give me the delusional notes.
It's really messed up. Like even from the first episode,
Give
there's a
me the hidden
Sato-mobile.
Korrasami.
There's a Sato-mobile on the cargo hold of the boat where she hides to go to the city. Like it's that level of no.
That would be
Um,
that is the type of hidden Zutara. So
I
you're on the
know.
right
That's why I
track
wrote
here.
all of these. We
You're
could do that
thinking right.
later. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not overt, obviously, because I didn't mean for it to go that route. But I feel like in that way, I mean, I don't know, maybe again, this is me being delusional, but I think maybe other shows may have been inspired by that sort of unintentional hinting. I mean, obviously they were not hinting at anything, but the unintentional like progression of their love story. Like I can't think of any examples, but I don't know, just it feels important that it wasn't so overt.
I think
Because
a
I mean
lot of
everyone I don't think it came out of totally nowhere, but like it kind of did. It's confusing.
well, we'll get to. I mean, there's actual stuff to get into once we get to book four for sure.
Of
Maybe
course.
book three as well. But the I think a lot of animation creators take away that you have to build up to this sort of romance over the course of several seasons, and it's like a very annoying conclusion, like that I think people take away from Korrasami. But
Mm,
because I don't think that's really, I think it's interesting the
yeah, I
way
don't
you're
agree with
talking
that.
about it. Like looking back, I wonder if Korra and Asami, like in universe, would look back at them driving the race car together and view it as like the foundations of their relationship. You know, even if at the time maybe again in universe the characters were not thinking of each other romantically in that light, but like
Mm-hmm.
you know maybe they're reflecting on it like that. And I definitely don't think there was like romantic intent in the show
No.
at this time. But that being said, we know Brian, like he's because like I was like always loving Korrasami. So at what point does he like have that mindset, and is that influencing what he's doing here? Because Brian is co-writing these episodes, so it's interesting to think about.
Which I could see that that part of it at the very least playing into the way that they like again like sort of go out of their way to not have Korra and Asami have like
Fight about.
any like any real antagonism. Like
Mhm.
briefly Korra is like, oh yeah, the like prissy rich girl he's dating or whatever, but that's like the extent of it. You know, like even when, you know, when Asami finds out that Korra and Mako kiss, she's like mad at Mako, not Korra. She
Yeah,
like
even in
even
the
said she's
kitchen
like
scene.
she's like
Yeah.
I like Korra. Like you're
Mhm.
being a loser about this. So I could see his like that being like sort of the end result of some of that where it's, you know, it's just sort of like you know, again, surprisingly like above the very low bar of women interacting with each other in media. But knowing where we know where it goes, you know, it's worth noting.
I think so. I think they have once they start because they really don't even talk to each other for like 5 or 6 episodes. But once they start talking, like it's they have some nice interactions. And we
I
note
think the
that
parking scene is funny where she's mocking her for parking terribly.
that's good. Yeah. Okay. What any others we haven't
Wait, by
mentioned?
parking terribly, do you mean like that she like crashed the car
Crashes
Yeah,
it.
into
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
into the lamppost?
but she also did say I don't know how to drive, so
Yeah.
to be fair.
Uh,
Um
uh, yeah. Go ahead, Ali. Any others?
no, I don't know. I'm just looking through my delusional notes and nothing here is like noteworthy, at
Well,
least until Asami
jump in
comes
if
in.
you jump in
Uh
if you want to bring in more.
no, there's stuff from before she comes up. Mm, oh,
Okay.
Asami mentions hat trick after Mako calls. So sorry, after Korra calls Mako Mr. Hat Trick, and then Asami says that she did a hat. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's
Ooh.
move on.
Okay. She was paying attention to what she's saying. I like it. Okay. So you might think so the Korrasami Watch. Well, us looking back on the show, when was it romantic? And so overall, the answer is not really yet, but maybe there's foundations of their friendship. How about at the time? Were we shipping Korrasami? I had already went over the Mel shipping Battleship. Korrasami wasn't even the top.
That's why
Not
I was.
even
I was
not even
surprised,
over Janucci, right? Like we that's how off the radar Korrasami
which is
was.
amazing because they at least interact.
Korrasami even
We
well,
did. We
so
had a
Korra and Asami,
very.
yeah.
We had a very hetero lens.
right. So more on this in a second, but book one podcast at least we are not as progressive on
Not
the
on the radar
gender
at
and
all.
sexuality yet. I believe
Yeah.
that will come to me in maybe book two, which is pretty interesting. It's like kind of fast turnaround maybe, but we're not really there yet in book
Listen,
one.
that's what
Because after we've been in
one
college.
semester at college will
What
do.
it's
Yeah.
what college does.
I mean, you guys. I
So
don't think I.
you okay?
No, I was in college.
Did we even mention Korrasami on the podcast in book one? And so I have combed through these podcasts. There is one mention of
Ooh.
Korrasami. One like, and so that was the ship name. So the person who says it says Korrasami. This is the episode 7 podcast, so it's what you would expect with the aftermath.
Is this person coining the term?
No,
I think Brian gets that
it was well.
credit.
I don't think Brian would have said it in the fandom, but I think the person who says it like it's an established thing. So I assume the fandom had already at least referred to this name. You know, but so I think it was probably not. It was probably brought up in Tumblr or something. So it was not maybe not who you expect. It was actually me who says
Ooh.
Korrasami.
I was wondering if it
N-
would be you.
Now, granted, I talk the most on these podcasts, but when you hear the context, it's not the most flattering context for. But
Uh-oh.
at least I acknowledge Korrasami. So here's what I say
Oh no.
in episode 7. So I say, okay, so then we see some Korra and Asami bonding, and Asami's like, "Want me to take you for a spin?" And
Mhm.
Korra's like, "Let's do it." And afterwards, she's like, "That was amazing," uh,
You know what?
which is kind of funny.
Awesome. No, it's awesome.
And then I continue. So Korrasami implied.
Okay.
So I say, yeah, so Korrasami implied. I mean, I was like joking and I was like not in a good way treating it in like a sexual context, but at least I brought it up, I guess.
Teenagers, it's fine.
Yeah.
People still
Uh,
talk that way about them. Like, it's fine.
Well, I was gonna say people still reference, especially the pool scene as well, sort
The
of
pool scene,
joking.
and specifically, I
Now
want to
they
take you for a
look at
spin.
it like, a sort of retroactive, like, oh wow, Asami had game back then and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But people, still, and again, I think it's just because they animated her really hot and she looks like
yeah.
she's hitting on everybody.
It's true.
So
She did
Uh,
not have to get out of the pool that way. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
and after I say that, though, we do go on to talk about Korra and Asami. They should be friends. So there's some Korra and Asami friends discussion. To Mel's credit, on episode 8 podcast, Mel was not even on, but sent me her thoughts. And as part of her grade, she said, "I enjoyed Korra and Asami's interaction," said Mel in episode 8.
Okay, I feel vindicated.
So there's some. I mean that's really stretching it. It's really not a lot other than that. I might
But
have
that
wrote down
speaks to how important they are, I guess.
the interactions that they had. But no,
Yeah.
like, so, yeah. So if so, the answer. So were we shipping overall? Were we shipping Coruscant? No, it was
No.
barely on our radar. Pretty. What were we shipping? I would say Bora is the most frequently shipped ship among us at the
mm,
time. It was really only Ali who was in on Makorra, and it was kind of
Yeah.
half-hearted for most of the podcasts. And we were less shippy than Avatar overall.
Mm.
It was just a lot like we're like a lot less on the shipping. But overall, so speaking of why weren't we considering Korsami? Well, I would say the 2012 podcast are actually like good podcasts. Like this isn't like Avatar anymore where I'm like this was kind of hard to listen to. Like it's mostly a fully formed podcast. The worst thing was we were kind of weird on, as I mentioned, gender and sexuality, and there's really non-existent. I would say we were weird on gender, and then there's just almost no mention of anything other than kind of heterosexual stuff. So no, also, if you're playing along at home with the fact that a lot of from the Spirit World members are queer now, no same-sex attraction displayed among from the Spirit World members in book
Amazing.
one, which is
Amazing.
hilarious looking back. But yeah, we'll see. I'm very eager to see if that changes in book two. Oh yeah. Oh,
I'd say
but
I'm convinced it's because we went to by book 2 we were all in college. Most
right.
of us were in college.
Your perspective. But I will say, in between books 1 and 2, on October 25th, 2013, we had a podcast called Orientation and Gender Identity Discussion from the Spirit World
Okay.
podcast number 113.
Yeah, it's college.
Um,
It's the
the
university,
lack
okay.
of
Korea,
diversity in sexual orientation and gender identity in the Avatar world is discussed as
Oh,
Dylan is
nice.
joined by Mel and Sam. So that was a year
Fantastic.
later. We do get into it finally, and before
yeah.
book two.
So after our first year in college, we
Yeah, I'm
were
proud
like,
of
you know
us.
what,
Yes,
we need to talk about this.
we're like, okay, we've learned some
It
things.
matters. It's important.
The the gender weirdness. I will note this because Korra book one has some diverging gender presentations. To the show's credit, even if they're
Mm.
maybe played like jokes to some extent. But I think we were a little weird about like Iki's comments about Tarlock, like smelling
Mm.
like a lady. That was probably the
Mhm.
hardest thing to listen to. Some of us more than others, but everyone is evolving, So we were maybe a little bit so very very slightly on the transphobic side at times here,
Mhm.
but I think we get better about that as it goes on. Like we're talking about Tarlock's assistant in episode 10 podcast, and all of us are like, no, we're debating like, no, it's a boy, it's a boy. That's like we're debating if it's Tarlock's assistant is a man or a woman. uh
Oh,
so it's not the
right.
language you would like to say in that regard, but
Yeah.
to be fair, it was a long time ago.
2012.
Yeah, so that being said, we're praising Tarlock's assistant. We liked this character. So I think if you're going to listen back to those podcasts, that's what I'd warn you about. But I don't know. I think we could get into a whole discussion about Korra Book One's presentation on gender and stuff. But it's I'm maybe more interested as the show goes on. But at least like I like that the summary I would say is that I like that Tarlock's assistant is like a non-traditional male presentation. Like I like that there's stuff like that in there, which wasn't as much in Avatar, other than Aang, himself, but he's also young.
Mm.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that or Korrasami or shipping as we move away from shipping here?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Trying to
It'll be
find
much more
them.
fun. Will we mention Korrasami in the book 2 podcast? We'll find out.
Yeah.
Surely. Surely we will, I would say.
I
But
think
really,
so.
it's probably book three. Also, there's just a lot of time between books one and two of Korra, and there's less time between the rest of the seasons. So especially, I didn't remember books three and four of Korra aired like back to back. I didn't remember that. Like they are like right after another.
Oh yeah, it was like weeks in between.
So let's talk about Amon and the mystery of Amon's identity. So, the big from the spirit world theory at the time was that Boomy, Aang's son, is going to be Amon. And we thought this from even before the first episode aired. So this was a podcast theory from the. Do you guys remember? I think we already referenced this, but do you remember whose theory this originated as?
Mel said it was hers.
Yeah, Mel said, and Mel. This is Mel. I didn't remember that this was like such. This is like definitely the Mel theory. Like this was Mel, like very much the champion of this theory.
I think I convinced all of you that it
And
was
you,
like I was like, no, this is all our theories.
Yeah, it made
for over
sense.
half of this, because like most of the podcasts, every podcast that Amon was on, I ended with like, who is Amon? And so we polled and so until like very late in the season, over half of us answered Boomy every time. Like Mel had Allie for
Nice.
sure convinced, Sam, me as well. We were all on Boom. Amon is Boomy.
Listen, she's the writer, so of course.
I mean, yeah, Mel was very respected narratively, like so it makes sense. Like this was a
It
very
does make sense. I still think it would have been way more interesting than
So
whatever
here's
we
okay.
got.
So here's Mel Boomy Mel talking about Boomy being Amon in episode one podcast. Which, by the way, this was this was at the end of March, even though Korra didn't technically premiere on TV until April because the first two episodes got premiered on Coronation early, which was a website that they like hyped up Korra on, and they made daily posts, and they apparently there was like giveaways and they had prizes and stuff. So this was a Nick advertising thing. So they premiered the episodes early on coronation.com. Anyway, here's Mel on Boomism on you don't mask a character unless they have something to hide. We know. We knew about Amon saying "I'll save you for last" from the trailer. Mel thinks Boomy is a non-bender. We didn't even know. We did. This is how wild this theory was for Mel. We didn't even know Boomy was a non-bender yet, but Mel thinks Boomy's going to be a non-bender based on what little evidence we had, and the
I was
trauma would have.
right.
Boomy would have trauma from being Aang Katara's child as a non-bender, and so that would be his
I
his
was I was right
motivation.
You
about
were on
that.
the money, like
which, which is true.
1,000%.
Which is true. And Mel thinks it would be interesting for the son of the hero from the last show to be the villain of this show. That was kind of the building blocks for Boomy as Amon.
I'm still behind this, man. I'm
Yeah, I
like now
wasn't
more
wrong.
pissed that it didn't happen. Like,
I do like, I mean, obviously, and I think I say this when we meet Boomy, like he's fun. I'm glad that, we get the version that we have, and that sort of thing. But I continue to think that Amon being almost like himself a red herring is kind of frustrating.
I agree.
Uh, yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's so interesting to think about if they were intending any sort of red herring with Boomy because Boomy also premieres in episode 11, like is like mentioned, and it's like oh my god, like it's like almost feels like it's a setup.
Well,
But
yeah, I
okay,
mean, I guess I don't mean Boomy being red herring, but Amon, it's like, okay, they masked his face, and they masked his face for the benefit of a character for a reason that we don't find out about until
yeah.
the end of the season.
It's like the like mysteriousness is more of the point than like than a specific character it ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get more into it. So from the podcast, episode 10, this was right before the finale. Our last calls. Who was Boomy? Last call on our guesses. Mel, or who is Amon? Who's Amon? Mel says Boomy. Ali says Boomy. This is after we start to get most of the backs. This is how we Tarlok is
What episode was
Yakon's
this?
son. This is after episode 10. So we knew
Okay.
Tarlok was Yakon's son. We knew a lot of we knew the flashbacks with Yakon. Sam gives a non-answer. Ben says Amon is telling the truth. Previously, Ben was a champion of Tarlok is Amon, which was a big theory too.
I
But that
remember
had been
that.
basically disproven at that point. But that was a big competing theory. Jeff locks in Tarlok's brother. Jeff is most on the money. We'll get to that in a second. I said Boomy was a spirit, which was a late breaking theory that I was trying to get in on. Like Bumi is like controlled by or like a spirit
Is
manifest in
this
the
what you
real
were
world.
talking about in the chat the other day?
I don't
The
think so. I don't
red
think it was,
light,
but
something about the light? I don't know.
I don't. I don't find the quote. I don't think I was talking about
I
him being
don't
a
know,
spirit,
something about the
but
speed of
anyway.
light.
So
Oh
even
no, that was
even
about the comet.
Okay,
That
never
was
mind.
something else.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was about, yeah. Even right before the finale, we are still on the Boomy theory. I feel like the Boomy theory was exacerbated. I want to hear your guys' memory of this because unfortunately I banned, I think, discussion about this on the pod. So there, like, I only have one thing to reference. The leak of an image of someone who looked like old Aang taking off the
Yes.
Amon
Oh
mask.
yeah.
So this was people have brought this up in recent, like I remember that time someone put out a fake image in the fandom of it was like someone who looked like is an old guy with an arrow, right? And he's like taking off the mask. So in episode 4 podcast, I say we don't know if it's photoshopped or not. I actually said I think it's real, but from a dream.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Ben thought it was fake. I said we won't discuss it on the podcast because of spoilers. So that was it. So that unfortunately that was our only thing on that fake Aang slash Boomy is Amon. I guess most people in the fandom said it was Aang, like interpreted that as Aang. But did here's my question: do you guys remember? Did we take that to be Boomy? Like, was that like potential evidence for him being Boomy?
I remember the picture. I don't remember associating it with that. I remember being like, well, this is confusing, if
Yeah,
true. And I
Because it
think
had
that
the guy
was
had the tattoos and everything, right? And we thought it
yeah.
was
yeah.
And
Aang.
to be clear, it was an incredible Photoshop. Like it was
Yeah,
like
AI
really
can't
well
do
animated
that.
and
I'm gonna
everything.
just throw that
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. So people really bought into that. That was definitely a big thing in the Amon debate. So I don't know exactly what people were like it was going to be Aang reincarnate or something like or Aang like a spirit Aang. Um, so that was a fun part of the leak as well. In general, I'll get into the Jeff theory next, which ends up being the most accurate. But Mellor, do you guys remember like debates in the fandom among who is Amon? Were we like debating people that it was Boomy? Do you remember this being like an intense thing?
Oh, I feel like I don't remember people having deep um feelings about that, but I don't know. I mean, I also feel like my main form of debating it was making you guys listen to my theories.
Hmm.
So I don't know what everyone else was talking about out in the
Truly,
world.
at the time, I feel like interacting with the fandom for me went as far as you guys, and then on Tumblr, it was just like fan art of like Korra with a bunch of different men who she never interacted with, like even like random equalists. I don't think I don't know. I mean, like I can't remember where I would even like talk about Korra other than with you guys, like on Skype, literally all those years ago. And now everyone's just like ranting on Twitter.
Yeah, I think it was on Tumblr and stuff and social media. But we also had the DF forums, by the way, which I referenced in the podcast a bunch. So
Yeah,
we were
that's where I
talking on the
remember.
DF forums.
But I'm pretty sure
Um,
everybody was like on board with one of those five, however many theories there were. It was nothing else that I could remember people were referencing or not referencing, predicting.
Yeah. So in terms of the actual solution to Amon, so in episode 4 podcast, Jeff for the first time mentions the possibility of uh, Amon being someone related to Yakone. Even as early as episode 4, Jeff calls someone related to Yakone. Let's see if I can find that
Nice.
in the yeah. So Ben chimes. This wasn't Ben's main opinion, but Ben chimed in. What if Yakone is Tarlok's father?
Wow.
So that was way before it. So and Ben was on Tarlok is Amon more in the right direction. In episode 6, I said someone related to Yakone was one of the main options to be Amon. So we were starting to track it after episode 6. The main contenders I said Boomy, Tarlok, someone related to Yakone. Those are the three main contenders. So as wrong as we were about Boomy, I was starting to present this as a main option early on. I don't even know how we knew the name Yakone because it was just in these like very short flashbacks
They
that Korra
He
mentioned
was
it.
seemed it.
seeing.
He said it
They mention
once.
it. Yeah, he's
Okay.
like, remember when we dealt with Yacone?
I think
Like
it
he
was
Okay.
in the
mentions it.
same. It was in the same sequence of this is one of your ploys to get more power.
So we were
Yeah,
running with
it's a
that name.
council scene very
Yeah.
early.
So you
Yeah.
guys just you blocked it out because of what Tenzin said before.
Yeah,
In,
like forgot everything else about that scene.
in episode 6 podcast, Mel says Amon has to be someone related to the events of the flashback. It can't be a random person. So there you go. There's even though you were on the Boomy, you were reading the show kind of well there. Um, oh, I have another. There's another great Mel theory from episode 6. I gotta. Okay, where's the Jeff theory? But first, the Jeff theory is from episode 8, right? I think so. Okay, so here's where we piece it together. Is after when extremes meet, because I think we learned that Tarlok is Yakon's son. So then we can start to actually, because we finally have enough information to kind of understand what's going on. So here was the Jeff theory, which was mostly right, but there's some parts that are wrong. Jeff says Sokka died after Yakon bloodbends everyone in the flashback. Aang takes his bending away. Yakon had 2 sons, Tarlok and Amon. They learned from him how to bloodbend without the full moon. They all conspired to take Republic City down, and Tarlok and Amon are working together. So that was the Jeff theory from episode 8.
Close.
How
Very, very
close?
close.
However, I do in the podcast. I do distill. I say the keys though is that Amon is Yakon's son and brothers with Tarlok. So like that's the part he nails. The Dylan addendum to the Jeff theory is that actually Tarlok and Amon both think they're playing each other. Tarlok is working with him with the intention to betray him at the end. And there's going to be like a showdown after Korra. Amon's going to like defeat Korra, and then Amon will battle Tarlok. Later, I say the key part of the Dylan addendum is just that they're clashing. And I guess in both are wrong because really Tarlok is even unaware that Amon is his brother, which we didn't really understand at that time. And then I say the Jeff theory doesn't explain how Amon is taking people's bending away. Also, this is another key thing. I was obsessed with Amon's movements are like very much like an airbender. And I was like referencing airbender like the martial arts that was airbend, and I was comparing it to Amon. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is key Boomy evidence. You know, he must have learned from Aang. So Jeff theory is going to be the winner here. And the so here's a key component though. Why were we on the Boomy theory? I know, sorry, this is a lot, but this was the brunt of the pod. This is half of the podcast we spent talking about this stuff. We never understood Amon was bloodbending right until the finale. We that's not something that we presented the 2 options that how was Amon taking people's bending away? Energy bending or chi blocking. Those are the only theories that we had. We did not come up with him. Now, to be fair, the show presented no information that would lead us to believe bloodbending could take someone's bending away, and did not explain it in the finale either, which I was pissed about in the finale podcast.
I'm still pissed about it.
In the art book, Mike comes in with an explanation, kind of. Mike says Yakon passed the skill to his son Noatak, who figured out how to use bloodbending to disrupt a bender's chi, making it impossible for them to bend. So that we didn't that's very vague, but we didn't even get that, I don't think, in the finale. So bloodbending disrupts the chi of the bender. Kind of akin to chi blocking, then I would say.
I don't understand why it's not reversible by someone who knows how to bloodbend. And to that point, I'm assuming when Katara says she tried everything she could, bloodbending was not on that list of trying everything she could.
Right, Katara can't do it. You would think she would bloodbend.
She can, but she doesn't want to. That's the important thing.
Yeah, Katara might not have even have bloodbended. Yeah, even if she wanted to. But anyway, the key thing, we thought Amon was energy bending the whole time.
Which was kind of adding to the Boomy theory potentially, because like the Avatar can do it, but Aang's the Avatar.
When
so
you guys when I watch
kids.
this back, I see like Amon blood. I see this like as a misdirect. So we're coming off of the Avatar Book 3 finale where Aang energy bends, and then there's a character who can take someone's bending and he uses the same hand position, at least on one of the hands. We discussed that intensely in the podcast. So I'm like, I kind of see this as Mike and Brian doing a misdirect. Like you think Amon is energy bending because we're primed for that after the Avatar finale, and it turns out it's actually bloodbending. It's kind of like brilliantly playing with expectations, but I'm unsure if that's what they were intentionally doing this whole time.
Wow.
How do you guys see that looking back with Amon's? And do you still, Mel? Do you still like have any vitriol for the show not explaining the bloodbending stuff better?
I mean, I think it's whatever. I guess it's the same result. It's like because doesn't Amon say like he is doing chi blocking basically during episode 3 or whatever? Like that's how he explains it to people.
He
That
said
he's
a
like,
spirit granted him the power.
oh, okay. So whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent it is true that they were like they were hiding that it was bloodbending and banking on the audience to not realize that until later, because then that reveals it's a waterbender, and that, sort of unravels, like makes the whole thing quite clear very quickly. It is interesting though that, like, okay, they don't suggest that it's chi blocking. He says like a spirit granted him the power. Okay, which I feel like even then we thought, we were like, okay, well that's BS, but
Hmm.
like we never considered like maybe he's telling the truth. Like no, like that's nonsense. But because the show doesn't posit like, oh, maybe he's doing a form of chi bending, or that sort of thing. So I don't think that they were like trying to get us to think of like being like, oh, playing with expectations and their recency bias and that sort of thing, so much as they were just really burying that it could be bloodbending, which is burying it by not really showing us what's happening. And also it's, why would we think that bloodbending is capable of that? Like what the show had not indicated until up until that point that that was a possibility. And then afterwards they don't really explain how it is. It's just like, oh, it's it happens. And somehow it seems like the Avatar's energy bending is the only thing that can reverse it. Like that's never explained, but we also don't go back to it ever again, so whatever. But I think, again, I still believe that they were like too invested in creating a mystery that
Mm,
did not necessarily need to exist, because who Amon is, like, wasn't really that satisfying to me, and that's fine. You just don't, like, don't build it up, I guess. Build
yeah.
up his mystique in the way that you do if the answer is going to be he is the related to a an original character for this show, um who we sort of don't have any real emotional connection to, and like also his reasons for being doing all this stuff is like kind of convoluted. Like it doesn't really track super smoothly with like the equalist movements of it all. So I don't know, I still think what how like what it ended up being was fine. I think the way that it was handled leading up to it is the part that I just still think is like, oh, we could have done better there.
Yeah. Allie, what do you think?
What's the question? I mean, because I pretty much agree with everything Mel said, but what is your question?
Well, did you what? How did it play for you this time?
Worse. Mostly because I mean, I think you were asking like if Amon was maybe the favorite villain or the most memorable one. I definitely think it's Zahir. For he just the Red Lotus in general for me is the best. The whole equalist movement. I really obviously it was supposed to be a contained miniseries. We know this, but the potential that they had to continue with it, or even they didn't wrap it up at all in the first season when it was like meant to stand on its own. And I feel like maybe even just like a blanket like, oh, and the like they went in to hiding, or like the movement died out, which like it would never happen, but like that felt less satisfying than the first time watching this. Again, I do like the way that Noah Talk and Tarlok's story was told, and like the way that they ended like was crazy to watch on television, children's television in 2012. But like Mel said, the mystique that was kind of that they were going for up to that reveal felt very lackluster. So I'm not a fan of it personally.
I would say the murder suicide,
Yeah, it was great.
Amon, and
Oh,
It was
yeah,
it's
great
that
to
was
see.
nuts.
incredible for me this time. At the time, I said it was one of the best scene of the season, so I was on the ball on that. But I still think it's incredible. It's just shot so well. They get a perspective shot of it.
The
It's
music as
beautiful. It's
well.
haunting. It yeah. A lot of what they're going for is very thematic, artistic, and that's as I've been saying throughout the rewatch. This sort of stuff plays better for me now, even if it's narratively broad.
Mm.
So I'm more into it now. I definitely think for me watching it now, if you just see it as a miniseries, you're not like tracking the mystery of it all. It plays a lot better. You're just kind of binging it to some extent. I think it's just a really fun ending, and it's like the Amon stuff is still fun, even if it's not a thing that you can guess. So for me it plays a lot better now. I do want to say okay, in the finale podcast, here was my things I didn't like from the finale in 2012. Amon's cause not concluded. Amon's motives didn't fully come together. I said the corruption from his father was not enough, which current Dylan, again, I think it's one of the things that's more thematic, but yeah, it's not really narratively fleshed out. Um, I said at the time, I said Amon's identity was unsatisfying. Mel said we didn't have all the pieces we need to guess the mystery, which we've been talking about here. I said Makorra and Mako sucked, which we got into. I said there were plot holes. Here are the 4 plot holes. Number 1, how can Amon take people's bending away with blood bending? By the way, Britt goes on a rant about how it's anatomically, like medically, not
Oh
possible,
yeah,
and how it would
that's
kill you.
yeah,
So Britt does a
sounds
ton of
right.
that.
Wait,
It's
what?
pretty good. If you bloodbend someone, you're really going to kill them, and it's no way
Oh,
you
right,
could
right,
take their
right.
because you have to bloodbend their brain. But if you're
Right, right,
bloodbending
right,
their
right,
brain, they're
right.
going into a coma, and she's going off. I wonder what now. Britt is like actual medical professional. We need her takes on on
I'm
all
sure
this
it would be
now.
the exact same because
It
she's
probably
correct.
it would
She's like,
probably still
actually,
be.
it's even more
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah. Second plot hole: how did Korra airbend? Because I didn't buy Aang's explanation. Number 3: how does Korra access the Avatar state? Number 4: how does she reverse bloodbending? I thought Mel had an interesting point at the time. You said you don't like that Korra reversing everyone's like taking their bending away. You don't like that it means bad things like don't stay that way in this world.
Mm.
Like it doesn't kind of
Yeah.
match which I think fair. And by the way, we end on that podcast. We end on Boomy's scream because Mel was like, "I love Boomy already just from that
Oh
one
yeah,
scream." And yes,
just
we end
like
it.
it's like wow or
Wahoo! Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty great. Okay, I want to bring in episode 6. I forgot. Mel's has a theory. So we had a big meme, which is because in there's a voice in the or a voice in the Amon's like, I have a plan and I'm saving you for last, right? So we're memeing the whole season about Amon definitely has a plan. He has a plan, guys. Don't worry. He really has a plan. So we're really speculating like what is Amon's plan? I guess his plan ends up just to be the Equalists take over the city. I guess that's his plan. He so but of course we were inflating it more than it was. So episode 6 podcast, Mel says she thinks Amon is chakra blocking, and that his plan is to unlock Korra's chakras in order to kill her in the Avatar state.
Hey,
Apparent
I had it. I had it 2 seasons early.
is that what? Yeah, is that what Zahir's? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
That's what Zahir was doing. Yeah.
Does Zahir do chakras?
He
Uh,
forces the Avatar
He
state to
forces
kill
the
her in the
Avatar in the
Avatar
Avatar
state.
state. So apparently there was a lot of theories with chakras in the fandom. Mel calls this the killer theory. This is or that we refer to this as the killer theory that Amon is trying to kill Korra in the Avatar state to get rid of the Avatar line. So this was apparently a big thing as well. But yeah, a lot of speculation. What is Amon's plan? Because that was a,
Got a
a
plan.
thing as well. Um, I think that's mainly it. What else do we have on Amon's identity? I mean, I think there's stuff with the Equalists, which is kind of a separate topic that we can get into. But for the most part, I think that covers that. Any other thoughts on the Amon identity stuff? I mean, honestly, it was such a huge part of all the podcasts I listened to are at the time. So we could spend much longer on it, but I think we've really distilled the debates at the time.
I
Yeah,
Do we
I
want
truly
to?
like
mean,
have no recollection of anything. Like
I mean, I think that's about it for the Amon of it all. From
Okay,
you know,
let's get into, and it's from the spirit world, early from the spirit world vein. It's getting late, but here we're gonna try to keep going into. I have this as a section getting into kind of violence views, political stuff in Korra. Um, I think this is one of the more interesting things. So I'm going to try to make sure I can capture. We mentioned this before, violence, and Mel had thoughts on violence in Korra. Were referencing the episode 4 podcast at the time. We could start with that. Let me bring in, and then Mel can chime in with what struck you about the violence this time. Um, but this raid that the task force has on the Equalist hideout. Um, yeah, so I say yeah. So either I say or one of us says Korra might have killed people here. Yeah, during the raid. So that comes in there. And we talk about whether people died in this raid. I think we're talking about how like Korra is kind of separate, but the other people are maybe being more violent in this raid. And then we're also like speculating, did anyone die in Avatar: The Last Airbender? Like, is this a Korra thing now that people die in the show? Did people die in Avatar? It's kind of interesting discussion. But Mel, what were you struck by with the violence rewatching here?
the first thing that popped up for me is she freezes the. It's like one of the triad guys that she confronts in episode 1. She like freezes his face and then kicks him into the hood of the car, and his head like slams into the car and the ice breaks off. And I was just like, that man
Mm.
is dead. That's crazy. um so I just think that there's a lot more, and like obviously we get into like the like gloves and the electric shocks, and that guy who gets like suplex like into the wall with that like giant slab of earth. um and even honestly pro bending, like like the throwing like these, we don't know how heavy they are, but like the like earth discs that the earthbenders and pro bending throw like seem to have some weight to them and seem like they might cause some like internal bleeding or something. I don't know, like getting like smacked in the stomach or the head with one of those. Like it seems like a more like the physicality of it is a lot more visceral than it was in Avatar, which may be partially due to the animation style and it being able to be like more realistic and fluid with human movement. And then, or also just like, the fighting style has evolved in world and it's a lot more brutal. But like, for whatever reason, just in Korra, it's like, yeah, like this is some like heavy hitting that people are doing. And it was just funny to be like, it's kind of like if you like watching back for uh what's it called, Home Alone, and some of the traps and stuff that he sets up, and like it's like, oh, those guys are dead. The burglars are dead. Like this guy just got smacked in the face with a burning hot iron. Like that man is dead. Like it felt similar to that, where it's just like a level of oomph to the violence that wasn't there in Avatar.
Yeah, Ali, what did anything stand out to you about the violence watching now?
uh, from when we were first watching, or do you mean now?
Now, or if your view on it has changed, if you remember.
Well, honestly, I don't remember my view. I don't think I had any like. I don't know. I don't think I felt any type of way about it. I wasn't really thinking about it that much. If anything, I think I was more focused on how good the choreography looked and how great the animation was. I still feel the same
Yeah.
about it, honestly. Like I've now having seen stuff like Invincible, I'm like, oh, this is so tame.
Well,
But
yeah, sure.
obviously, that's not meant for children. I don't know. I mean, like, did they ever show blood in Korra? That's still like a thing where I'm like,
No.
okay, then that's how you know it's like, whoa, that's like actually violent.
Yeah, no, they never showed blood.
I don't think
Yeah,
I was just impressed with the moves, honestly.
I
I
was struck by. No, go ahead.
no. I'd had a counter for like electric shocks, but I lost count.
Yeah. A lot of, and it feels like there's a lot of brutal things that are not played to be like fatal. Like yeah, I was definitely struck by General Iroh taking over all the ships. He throws someone off the ship and then the parachute goes
Yeah.
off like every single time. It's like I feel like they're going out of their way to demonstrate people
Actually, I
aren't
think it
dying.
was. No, I think I'm remembering the mecha suits having the magnets with the metal bending cops outfits. I was like, oh, they
Yeah,
would probably be dead from that as well.
probably would
It is
crush
pretty
them.
violent,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess now the
It
thing that sticks out to me the most right now is the gloves for reasons we'll get into, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, we can get into that. I think that they are not intending to show people dying, but are intending to show it being like very brutal.
Hmm.
But clearly at the time we were struck by like this might kill people.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this handles. I know there's going to be like stuff with Korra almost dying, so to track how this is going throughout the show. But it just comes across a lot more brutal, and I think it refers to what I was saying with Korra's character. I don't really like blame Korra for being like violent, like in that raid. Like this is clearly like Tarlok's doing, and she's still like pretty fresh off the boat in episode 4. So I didn't see Korra as this like hugely violent character, but it's certainly a
No.
contrast compared to Aang, who's evading all the time. She's much more forceful for sure. When she's brutal against, and like I referenced in the previous podcast, my view on violence against, like people in power who are doing terrible things. Like when she's brutal against Tarlok in episode 8, I'm not looking at this like, wow, Korra's awful, just as bad as him. It's like, I see how she's being influenced. Like she's having to go down to his level to fight him, but like Tarlok's pretty messed up at that point, like bloodbending her, and so I'm still on Core. I'm not like as like Core like negatively affected by what Core is doing there or later in the show. But it is definitely striking how violent she can be when other people are. How like brutal a lot of the bending ends up being for sure. But I don't know. I definitely didn't react as strongly to it, but I understand, especially coming off of Avatar. I mean, I think this leads into the other discussions I have here. But yeah, Mel, was there any other scenes that stuck out to you to follow up on with that?
No, not this season. I mean, there's definitely some stuff in future seasons that I can already think of that sort of following this trend, but
I don't remember if we mentioned that. I mean, from my perspective, if I was expecting anything to go crazy, like violent, it would have been when and if she were to go into the Avatar state. And I remember being like waiting with bated breath, especially I think in episode 6. Is that when she crashes out? It's not a no, sorry, episode 8. Yeah, episode 8, where I really thought she was going to go into the Avatar state when she was throwing Tarlok to the ground and doing all that, but it never got to that point. So that's maybe why I was kind of like, no, nothing crazy has happened yet. Because I mean, I remember with
Yeah,
Aang, when he went into the Avatar state, he would lose control and really hurt
yeah,
people
it is
unintentionally.
interesting. Yeah, that is interesting on the track. Because she only goes in the Avatar state right at the end.
Yeah, at the end.
Speaking of episode 8, I guess I want to talk about the Equalist, but I also want to bring in this kind of fascist police state scene that what we referenced Tarlok invoking that
Mhm.
the law with the council. Let me bring in this dialogue. Tarlok, he's going to make a law to make it illegal for assisting with the Equalists, and he's going to have a curfew for all non-benders. Um, Ted does who's that? Korra says they're not equalists. They're just normal people who want their rights back.
Asami says that actually.
Asami says that, and then is this Tarlok? They are the enemy.
Hmm.
So
I know
yeah,
Korra comes in like, you don't have the right to treat innocent people this way, but when Tarlok puts the law into effect, Tenzin is like, you can't blame all non-benders for the actions of a
hmm
few, and it's like a whole.
right.
It's eerie.
yeah,
This
I
really,
mean, I think the thing with him saying like declaring like the Equalists or whatever
Martial law.
terrorist group and anyone associated with them will be is all it's also illegal to associate with them, like that felt very poignant. Like we've seen
Yeah.
that a few times in our own world recently.
yeah.
So
I think that scene is really stands out as like very politically pointed.
I was
And
really shocked. Like I remember watching it this week. I was like, "Whoa, okay, hold on."
it feels even more relevant. It feels like you can write that scene about the past year, right? Like you can write it about immigrants or certain countries treating, you know, like it's not this the equalists, it's treating all the citizens like the equal, you know, like it definitely feels ahead of its time, but I'm sure this has been a political theme throughout
For
history and
sure.
in the past few decades. Um, that really stood out. I also, I mean, I wanted to note that in contrast to the focus on the police, we see Lynn's perspective and a lot of commentary on how Toph has invented the metal bending police. And in recent years, as there's been political movements kind of pushing back against the police's role in our society, people talking about how it's disappointing that Korra shows that Toph would create a police force, especially as Toph was a big rule breaker. So I did want to
Hmm.
reckon with that here. But I found this scene to be crucial in balancing Korra Book's one view of the police force, I would say. And there are other scenes as well, where once the new chief takes over, you know, I think they're viewed maybe more negatively. But I think
Hmm.
this episode really shows how police can be used as kind of a tool of a like a fascist government force. So I was pleasantly surprised that there was some balancing, I would say, on the view of police by Korra Book One.
I was too. That was part of why. I mean,
Yeah.
I was not pleasantly surprised by what Tarlock had to say, but I was like, it's good for audiences to see this, and it was back then as well.
It's not just this like like Lynn's clearly a hero, you know, and
Hmm.
Lynn's she's
And when she
presented as
does
her
the most
actions and the
good,
police are
she's doing
good.
it outside of the police force
Right, and then there's
themselves.
that, right? She becomes independent. But the season clearly displays how policing can be used for bad too, in addition to good. So at least there is that. Now, does that mean that the season is rosy for everything else it does with Toph and Lynn? And so I think that's interesting. Uh, Mel, you mentioned Lynn, except ACAB applies to Lynn. What was your view watching back on do you mostly look at it like this is from a different time, or do you think the show should have portrayed police differently here? Do you think, and what's your view on this like popular notion that it's Toph shouldn't have been the one to create a police force that's not in line with her from Avatar?
I mean, in terms of what they should or shouldn't have done, I mean, obviously, um, I think that's like speaking for myself, like I was not in a place to understand that stuff in a way that I should have back then. Now, granted, I was 18, 19, they were, adults. But I think that was true for a lot of people, and a lot of people who aren't subjected to, police brutality on a regular basis, like weren't in that place to even be thinking about it that way. Like, to people back then, myself included, like a cop is like a stock character. Whether it's like, the honorable lawman that sort of like Lydon is, or what have you. Obviously looking back on it, like watching it now, like it's especially in the context of like everything else going on in the season with the bending stuff, like and I don't know if we talked about this, but like, I mean, obviously Mako becomes a cop and is a detective or whatever, but they have like an entire like section of the police force that is benders, and there's a section of the population that they are policing who are not, and it's like this like inherent physical inequality and like exploitation of like, we have capabilities and can do things that you cannot, and have access to, weapons and technologies that you do not, and we're using it to police you. And I think that's like maybe like the thing that like really stuck out to me this time as like very messed up to watch back, now as like a more learned person is like, yes, the police existing, and in a way that like because we didn't really have police before in Avatar that we saw. Like there was obviously various military groups and that sort of thing, but
Yeah.
this is like, the first time we see a police force. And it's like this specialized group of metal benders who are policing the rest of the city, and that felt very pointed and weird and not good. The Toph of it all, like, looking back on it, I actually think I could see where it makes sense that Toph might do this. Like looking at like sort of like the least charitable parts of her character and like her sort of very like strong-headedness and stuff, like I could see her sort of formulating this. I like, yes, obviously she was like very anti-authority and all this other stuff, but I could see her sort of being like, metal bending is the coolest thing in the world and I invented it and I'm going to put it on a pedestal, um and use it in this way. Like I actually think that makes more sense than I would have thought back then.
Yeah. I I could see Toph's character going in that, like she's very young, and then when she becomes adult, she's gonna have different views on authority and rebellion, and like her view on how she should play into that. Um, so I don't have too much to weigh. I mean, Allie, do you have anything to weigh on Toph inventing? Is it still something that bugs you? Have you kind of moved on from it?
Uh, Honestly, I'm both. uh, I mean, I can't really add anything to what Mel said. She really articulated it better than I ever could, but I have made my peace with it and I'm annoyed with it.
Yeah, I feel the same probably. It's like it is what it is. I think more important to this podcast though, I think that this season's the role of the police in this season was more nuanced than I remember. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's the key thing for me. Like it actively becomes a tool of Tarlok, and then like once so like even
Because like
past
I
that
don't
one
think they're ever
episode.
presented in a like the police are like good period way.
It's
Like
like it's mostly presented neutrally by the season, and like I understand
mhm.
why they're including it in this season, doing a 20s city thing. Like
Mhm.
I think it's kind of fine. Now Lynn, like, and then part of her arc is going outside of the police, right? So
Mhm.
I think kind of I think people kind of don't remember that aspect of it when they talk about how annoyed they are with that in Korra. Honestly, I think having seen the first half of book two already, it's more annoying in
Yeah,
book
I was gonna
two.
say the people
Uh,
who are complaining about the police stuff, it's because of what happens in the later books.
but even in book two, there is nuance. There's like there's lazy or dirty cops. So like there's some nuance there, although it's not as presented as well as this season. I'm interested to see what happens in the second half of book two with it, if at all. Also, Mako becoming a cop, I think makes
Right.
sense, but more on that later. So yeah, this was maybe better than I thought. You could argue it's one of the more nuanced things in a season that paints with fairly broad strokes. I want to bring in the Equalists, which is a kind of a separate topic, but like I feel like we've been talking about this with Mel was getting into it a little bit. The big question with the Equalists is like, does the show forget about the Equalist cause? What happens with them after the finale? It seems like Amon's a fraud, therefore the cause dies down, but they like take over the city, and
Mhm.
and sure that Amon goes away and the United Forces come, and so like they get the city back under control. But what happens to the theme of bending inequality? How much of this was ever a thing that the show was trying to legitimately get into versus kind of it being a backdrop, if you know what I mean. And the Amon is more of a specific character that the show is more interested in exploring. So I don't know. I guess like, how much did this annoy you dropping the Equalists? And it's book two's not going to get into it much more. Mel, watching through this time, how do you think the show handles it?
Like post, like knowing that what, like you mean after the finale?
The
or
fact
like
that the finale comes and Amon's defeated, and then that's it for the Equalist, that's it for
right,
bending and
right.
equality for the most part in
I
Korra.
see. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer because it's a like it is interesting. Like I think we thought that back then too. It's like, oh yeah, this is interesting. Like I remember Dylan specifically pointing out like Mako works at the electric plant in a job that only a firebender could work in.
Mm,
You know, and how many more of those types of jobs are out there in that sort of labor market and things like that. And they touched on really interesting things, but ultimately um, moved away from them because yeah, I do think it maybe not necessarily was a backdrop, but like once they got the go ahead for more seasons, there were other things they wanted to do outside of Republic City and larger lore stuff. Like, I think it was just they sort of lost interest in that, which I get because it's like, you know, we are the type of people who are going to fixate on those nuances. Like, what about this? Like, what does this mean for this thing? And, you know, little bits and pieces like that. Whereas they're going to be thinking, you know, like, okay, we don't want to redo the same storyline again in the new season. We have to sort of pivot in a different direction. I think there's definitely ways they could have brought it back and worked it in. I mean, especially with stuff in 3 and even into 4, I think they could have worked Amon back into it because they found a way to make Unalaq relevant in with the season 3 lore stuff. Like I think you could have done that with Amon.
yeah.
Um, you know, I think them returning to it in um other media, I will say, I guess, as to not do spoilers for things, is proof that they do recognize that it was interesting and there was something there. So they are exploring it in a couple other ways. But yeah, I mean, I think they moved away from it just because they sort of lost interest in it or had bigger things they wanted to explore and tell. But I think back then we thought it was really interesting, and I still think it's really interesting. Um, so you know, bummer, but I don't think. I think they had a lot of other stuff they wanted to dive into.
Ali, how about you?
About what though? Like specifically?
How much does it annoy you that that we didn't do more with the Equalist cause?
A lot, but treating it as like a standalone season, I understand why they didn't. It's, I mean, like again to Mel's point, keep saying that, but how they referenced Unalaq in book 3. I don't know if they could have done it with Amon, but at least with the Equalist movement
I don't
itself.
remember this at all, by the way, so I'm
Like,
excited.
when she's talking to
No,
Zahir
don't
about
spoil
like
it. Don't spoil it. I want to know.
well, not even in that way, just progressing like with what's going on in this city, but they do like move to the Water Tribe and then do like a bunch of other stuff outside of Republic City, which I guess is more of the issue, and that's why they can't go into the equalist thing. But I feel like if it were, I guess, that proper of a movement, it would have like already had factions in every part of the world, like in every corner of the nations, or not just this one like territory city. So I guess it kind of makes sense that it would fizzle out, but the fact that they didn't even reference it to just like clear it up or like wrap it up, I guess, for like the finale of the book 1 arc still annoys me. I don't remember how much it annoyed me in the past, but it really grinds my
Yeah.
gears now.
It definitely annoyed us at the time. And I think, like I said, I think maybe they're taking away the council with one person from each nation who's maybe more likely to be a bender. And instead having one president, the non-benders are the majority, so they would elect maybe a is Raiko a non-bender? I don't even remember.
I think it's
Um,
I think
implied,
he
yeah.
is, yeah.
so they elect a non-bender president. I think this is their job of kind of subtly going in this direction. Probably should have done more with it. In terms of my enjoyment of book 1, I don't think it hindered my enjoyment rewatching it very much because
Mm,
like I kind of said in the preamble, I think the show focuses more on Amon
yeah,
rather than the cause itself. In terms
which
of
is also the annoying
core
thing, but
In terms of the show as large, I think that's more annoying, especially what I remember of book 3. I think the show maybe similarly drops Sahir's motivations. Like Amon, like, oh, it's like what's seems like he genuinely believes in the cause, and it's like, oh, it's more about his backstory, and he's a bender, and so none of what he believes in it matters anymore, even though he kind of did believe in it. Zahir and the Red Lotus, I feel like, again, I need to rewatch it, but I remember us talking about how that's the most disappointing aspect is we never really get into the cause and the details about what they're about. So I think this is like a tendency, I feel like, of Korra at large that I'm going to be on the lookout for how later seasons do it. Doesn't in terms of like just watching book 1, it's kind of fine. I mean, I don't think the show gets into it too much of the details of what the inequality is. To what extent is there intent? I mean, you could argue their intent is not to get into it much. That being said, let me bring in a quote from Brian from Korra, Making of a Legend. Brian says, it was always our idea that non-benders in the Avatar world outnumber benders. If they're feeling underrepresented, frustrated, oppressed, this is a massive group of people. It's like a class revolution thing. So, I mean, and knowing, I'll transition this into other political state things from the season, but knowing Brian is pretty left wing, him bringing up class revolution, I feel like is very important here. And if they're intending to get into real class revolution, I don't think they succeeded with the Equalists in book 1.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe a thematic failing. They never really get specific like that. It's a good idea
think they
still.
would have if they had more time? Like if they knew they had more time with this first season? Because I mean, to your point, Brian being super left wing, it was surprising that they didn't. It still is.
I think they had every opportunity when they have more episodes. If they had plans, I just think like they have this idea and they make it more of a backdrop, but the specific miniseries they plot out not to like execute the concept. It's more of they more get into the specific Amon story, Amon and Korra story. It's like I just think they like purposefully didn't go in that direction, which is maybe a good thing for the miniseries itself. It stayed focused. But sure, they could have just made it a different type of show. They could have made it more of a thing that would branch out more into next seasons. I mean, if they had, they could have just executed the season differently.
Yeah.
So I think they could have. They kind of just purposefully did not. Um, some random other political related aspects. We were struck by a story this week. Here's from ABC News. Here's a headline: DHS seeks to purchase electric shock gloves for ICE officers. DHS seeking $20 million to purchase the gloves. They're literally electric gloves that shock you. Glove, GLOVE, generated low output voltage emitter.
Jesus.
I didn't know they acronymed.
That's so stupid. That is so
Now,
unbelievably stupid.
will this end up being a thing? Considering it's already being
like
satirized,
you make
maybe
an
not.
acronym for something that is like
That
it doesn't make sense that that's an
It's
acronym.
just a glove. You don't need to be like it's a glove. Well, we call it a glove. Like, yes, I can see that it's a glove. Like you do that for like it's stupid. Anyway,
so
go on.
it's funny that they're making the Equalist gloves in real life. I think this project will probably go nowhere. But it's like they're turning. Which the ironic thing maybe is that in Korra, the gloves are a tool of equality for an oppressed people, but here they're going to be used as a tool of a fascist oppressor. So it's kind of like a reversal of this technology. Like in Korra, in this season, they're going for like the purpose of the Equalist gloves. They're trying to level the playing field with technology. So yeah, the Korra is real life, I guess, is what we're saying. Now we've even though it's 100 years later.
Well, but listen, it was supposed to be in the 1920s, and now we're in the 20s. So when it aired, we were in the 10s. Now we're in the 20s. So it was ahead of its time.
It's ahead of its time. I don't have too much to say about it other than what I said. But I think it's funny.
It's kind of goofy. Have you seen them in action? Horrible. By the way, they're so they're like funky.
It's terrible.
And also, they clearly only work if you're not wearing clothes. Based on like if it touches clothes, it's not going to work.
Oh well, that's good news.
Well, I don't know that for sure, but
Just wear long
I'm
sleeves all the
pretty
time.
sure.
Yeah, I mean they might. God, who knows? It's funny. I mean, you have to laugh or you're gonna like,
You have
yeah,
to laugh or you're just going to be
or
depressed. That's the
yeah,
past decade. Honestly,
decade.
I mean, decade in general. Since Korra, I mean, it's partly it's because when you grow up, you get more attuned to the horrors of the world. But it really has seemed like the world has just gotten much worse
So
since
much
Legend of Korra
worse.
has aired.
So much
Yeah.
worse.
So and Korra is really about terrible things happening to like in the world, and the like I said, the realities of all terrible things happening and inequality. And so I feel like Korra has really aged well in that
It's
regard.
true.
Like
It's a good point.
Yeah.
and like I think this is what they're going to do in Seven Havens. Anyway, I'll bring up Seven
Hmm.
Havens in a second. But two other random political things I'll be brief about. Um, Although, did I lose my place in my notes? One of my least favorite tropes nowadays is there's the villain of a story is not the oppressor. It is the leader of an oppressed peoples who is
Hmm.
rising up,
Yeah.
who is going too far. They're going about their revolution in the wrong way. It's worse for the leader of the oppressed people to kill the bad guys, the oppressors, especially if they're the leaders. It's worse for them to go it around in the bad way than it is to systematically disenfranchise people and like murder scores of people. I this is you might think this is very specific. I genuinely think this is like half of American media falls
It's
into
true.
this
I
this
would
this
say
Yeah,
trope.
no,
more than half.
100%.
Way more than
Yeah.
half.
I mean,
I I
anytime there's
ran
anything, it's it's the, well, you're going about it the wrong way, and it's the like, well, remember, like, for example, they always love to tout out like MLK
Due
believed in peaceful
process.
protests, and it's like,
right.
Hmm.
And in
what?
reality, that we've distorted what what the realities of
Yeah.
MLK, of people that love Gandhi, people we like to cite like that. Like it was really not like that. I've ranted about this, and I think it has been season two podcast. I noticed this in Hoppers recently. It's kind of ruined the movie for me, although it's still really good. But just there's just so many things I think just people who are creating media, like please try to be aware that you've been brainwashed by the people in power, the to like write your stories this way. It's like, yeah, it's not subversive. Like don't have enough stories about people rising up against, because like our world is not it's not been resolved. There is a controlled ruling class, and like we should keep making stories about people going against the ruling class and not like try to subvert that, and because you're really just being tools of those people. So is Korra book one falling into this trope because Amon is leading a
Yes.
revolution and he's going maybe about it in the wrong way? I think like it kind of try tries to not get into this territory because one, it doesn't emphasize the actual revolution as we talked about. That being said, I like just said a quote from Brian where he said it's about class revolution, but the show doesn't really get into that too much.
Ay.
But number two, it focuses more on the Amon story, and it's also not like Amon is going about it the wrong way as much as he was a fraud. And then it's also, but we're focusing on the leader of the revolution. They're the villain, and it's not like maybe they have good points, and we should actually fix our society about that, right? So I do think like Korra Book One does kind of fall into this trope. It's not as bad as some other things that have annoyed me recently, but I mean, like they took over the city. This is really bad, and it's like it does kind of get into we're doing this the wrong way territory.
Yeah, and
I don't.
I would also say, and I think this is incidental, but I would argue even the like fact that like, okay, this legitimate this group of people with a legitimate complaint about their quality of life is being led by this person who's a fraud, like leans a little bit for me into the like constant media narrative. And by media will pick up these sort of fringe narratives of like false flag stuff, right, where people try to delegitimize grassroots movements by
Hmm.
claiming they're being controlled or given misinformation by another group. Like that's a thing right now with like the data center stuff. Like people are saying like there are data center developers who are like, like actually this is misinformation being fed by, like, insert country here that they don't like basically sort of discrediting groups. And you see this with like the pro-Palestine movements, where they're like, you're believing Hamas propaganda and all this other stuff. And it's like, I think there's a legitimate uh point to be made there, that you could argue they're falling into that same kind of classic you know tactic. Not that they're doing it maliciously, but they're like portraying this thing that gets sort of touted around every time there's a grassroots movement that like the ruling class doesn't like.
Yeah, it's a tactic to suppress people, disenfranchise people, to yeah, say no, you're doing this wrong, you're falling into wrong hands. Yeah, and it's I would we'll see if as well. I want to see how book three portrays, because it gets into some form of left wing type of stuff. Again, I feel like it's just never specific. But I'd be on the lookout for this in Seven Havens. And it's kind of interesting if we get more into thematic stuff, that maybe this is a little bit of a failing on book one, not getting more in depth into. Okay, random other political thing, kind of relates, kind of not. Here's a quote from Mike in the art book. He says, following the Hundred-Year War, there was much debate about what to do with the Fire Nation colonies in the Earth Kingdom. Rather than send the Fire Nation citizens home, Aang and Zuko established the United Republic of Nations, an area of the world where people from all nations could live and prosper. So I was struck by this notion of, rather than send the Fire Nation people home,
Hmm.
um, it was kind of a one state solution that
Yeah.
Aang and Zuko had with.
That
We
the
didn't
way
really go
that
for a
my
we
eyes
didn't really
widened
go
when
for
you
a two
just
states.
said that. I was like, wait a
No, this is
minute.
from the art book, which
No,
was
I know, but like I didn't
13 years
even.
ago.
Yeah.
For people, maybe in certain world situations in the world, which I mean, we may have already discussed, but I may be referring to a specific place in the world where people advocating for two-state solutions. Maybe Aang and Zuko would disagree with you in the. Maybe it's better for people to live together and to make a council where we have representation for both peoples, because yes, the Fire Nation people aren't supposed to be there, but they have been there for generations, and so they're kind of just there now.
This
But
is-
the people that got kicked out, that's also their home. So
oh
we
maybe
don't
we
have
shouldn't keep
God.
them separate.
we don't have time
That's
for all the things
crazy.
that this is like, popping off in my brain. um so I'm just gonna say, yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, they bite off more than they can chew a
Yep.
lot of times with this stuff,
Yep.
um without realizing it. So
Very often.
I look,
I'm
I like the ideas Mike's talking about here. I wish that they were kind of talked about in the show,
Yeah, fleshed
So
out properly
yeah.
and
But this is fun. This is interesting stuff that was thrown in a one sentence thing in the art book. I mean, it's there in like the intro. The intro tens in
it's
episode one
there
is
in the
like
comics as well. Like,
the history of United. But I was like, wow, this is interesting, analogous situation. That I mean, it's
hmm
beyond the one situation we're talking about. It happens, and this is things that happen in with colonialization and in various places in the world. So and like we're seeing with the United Republic of Nations also has its issues. Here's a third political thing. I feel like is the council. I feel like the council is such a joke. Is this a lampooning of representative democracy? Because like, oh, each nation has one representative on the council, and then it turns out that it's like not helping the people or really representing them at all. So
also,
maybe
the water tribe had two,
the
I would
War
like to
Tribe has
point out.
two, yeah,
so
which
yeah.
so maybe we
Yeah.
move to a more direct democracy next season, although we're still electing a representative with the president, I feel like. But anyway, I don't think that's really what they're going for, but I feel like they were showing an effectual nature of something like the Senate with the council. Maybe they are still going for something like that. I don't know. Okay. Is that all I had on? I think that's most of what I had on that. So we can start to get into final things here. We mostly talked about Republic City and Pro Bending. Presentation of the old gang. Uh, quickly, I will
I
say, go ahead, Mel.
no, you go ahead.
As we talked about in the movie podcast, seeing Aang in the movie, in the Aang movie, versus seeing bearded, boring, older Aang in Korra, I was much happier with his presentation in the Avatar Aang
Yeah.
movie. I think they got it more right than here.
Yeah. I also, for whatever reason, I found the Toph, can you not call me that? I'm 40 years old, like kind of annoying as a line as well this time around, to be honest. She calls him Twinkle
Like,
Toes.
and have some more fun with it,
Yeah.
why'd we lose? They did really lose Aang's
Because he's
joy.
40
And
years old, guys.
oh
Listen,
no,
they're this is their prelude to what I would call the biggest controversy, I think, in this entire show is Aang's stuff
Oh,
next
yeah,
season.
that's true.
in Korra Book One.
Book
Yeah,
two.
no, yeah, not really. I'm saying this, him being kind of a no fun guy in this, you could read as a prelude to what we learn about him in book two, or at
Oh, in
least what
Book
we
Two,
learn
yeah,
about Kaya and Bumi's
yeah,
relationship and with him in book two.
right. Yeah, prelude to that discussion. We're just not having enough fun with characters we love, yeah, and we're making it all kind of a bummer. Yeah. Any other? I feel like I don't know. I kind of like Sokka the most in the flashback of the old gang. I thought he was the closest to. He's like, I might trusty boomerang bested him. Like I thought that whole speech was kind of fun. But I don't know, Allie. Anything else that stood out to you with
With the
when we get
flashbacks?
the yeah we get the flashbacks?
Mm, not so much, really. I mean, I remember being really hyped about it the first time, and this time I was, like you, preferring the movie depictions of everybody, honestly.
Basically everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think a lot of the gang stuff is very much coming off a high of Avatar at the
Hmm.
time, and if you treat it kind of independently, like that those flashbacks, I don't know, it's a little boring what's happening with Yukon and the trial and everything. But I mean, once everyone gets bloodbended, that's kind of exciting. But yeah, I don't know. I think we'll continue to talk about the show going in like a very serious adult direction with the gang. Random things, fandom. Did you guys think of any Tumblr memories from book one that you wanted to share?
Hmm.
Really, I couldn't find who knows which Tumblr account was which.
No, I honestly have
Um,
nothing. Other than
I
the
don't
leaked
think
image, that was
so.
like the biggest thing.
Yeah, I remember the leaked image. I
Your guys' combined Tumblr account comes later, I think, right?
Oh God. You remember
I
that
think
one?
that's not book one.
No, that was book
I don't remember.
three.
What was it
No,
called? I don't
that
remember.
was book
Anyway,
four.
yeah, it might have been
what?
book four.
We had a combined Tumblr account.
Yeah, the Mel
That was
Alley.
more like about Carmilla, though.
Oh my God.
It's not about
We
Avatar.
could talk about no,
Wait, I have to
we were talking
Google
about
this.
stuff. You have to Google it. Why
What
do
do
you
we? What do
remember
we think we
stuff from
call
why
it?
what we remember is very arbitrary here. While you look that up, some other memes from the podcast. We haven't talked about She's Strong. You guys were obsessed with She's Strong about
Because they kept
Korra.
saying it repeatedly, not even like, or Katara
You
kept
said
saying
it. You
something
guys
about,
said it constant. So
Katara said it. Katara had
because
four
Katara's
lines,
like,
and it was
she's
two of them.
strong. The baby's strong. Strong, strong, strong.
Yeah,
Okay, enough.
you guys constantly saying it on the podcast because in the first
strong.
episode, Katara says like she's strong, but she lacks
I think
restraint.
it's
Was the way
also
Lena
the
said.
line read too. Like the
Yeah,
line read is just kind of funny.
yeah.
She's strong.
It was very. It was. Yeah. Certainly, there's a lot of "Bowlin' in the Deep" from Sam singing that. I think in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
everyone was singing it,
I
and then it
remember.
comes up in every podcast. That's
Remember that.
"Rolling in the Deep" by
Hmm.
Adele, but "Bowlin" parody. Um, the 102, the episode 2, that was Brit's first podcast. We talked about everyone's on Avatar. Brit comes in Korra. I didn't remember that. I thought she was there earlier, but that's fun. We talked about some of these. Oh, here's another meme. Honora.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah, Honora is
that.
Was
the
she was
Fire
there?
Lord. No, they
So
just mentioned her, I think.
we mention Iroh mentions the Fire Lord, right? And so
Yeah.
her name does not appear yet. And so we're like,
Honora, of
okay, so
course.
in episode 10, I come into on the podcast. Boomy is going to be married to Honora. Ali says, no, her name is not Honora. You were very offended. But
And it wasn't.
also,
So.
we had a theory, Mel, briefly that Boomy was married to the Fire Lord. So this was there's something about he had General Arrow came in, he had a collar on, and we saw a collar of Boomy. It matched the collar of Boomy in a family tree that was released, and so they were like, "There's two options: either he's married, this is a Fire Lord Nation collar, and he's married to the Fire Lord, or it's just United Republic collar, and Boomy is a general." And it was the second one, but we were yeah.
So
Anyway.
dejected.
Honoro was funny. So that was our joke name for what Zuko would name his daughter. Um, and okay, let's go through some of Mel's hidden Zutara.
Oh boy.
Now, Mel, you stopped doing Hidden Zutara after like the first half of the season. I don't know why, but you were very on it in the beginning of Korra Book One. Do you remember? Do we do Hidden Zutara in books 2 to 4 of Korra?
There's no way.
I assume not.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some selections of Mel's Hidden Zutara from episode 1. Korra's neglecting airbending because she ships Zutara. Okay. Therefore,
Was
the
that it?
paternity of I'm paraphrasing. You go on. Korra's neglecting airbending because she sips Zutara. Therefore, the paternity of Katara's first two children is questionable.
Oh my god!
And obviously, the best part is the conclusion to the on all of these. Number 2, the
Fascinating.
practice yard for firebending in the south. There's a practice yard for firebending in the South Pole because Katara couldn't bear to be far away from Zuko. Therefore, they secretly eloped after Aang died.
You know, people actually think this way.
A little,
That one
maybe
I
a little
actually
on the
kind of
nose with that one.
remember.
Okay. Episode 3.
Christ.
I just wrote down the ending of one of them. Therefore, Zutara because reasons. Here's a different one. Amon is a Makorra shipper because he's making up for the lack of Zutara in the original show. Therefore,
remember this
Zutara is
one.
part of Amon's
Wait,
revelation
what?
and thereby canon.
It's cause I was trying to say it's like, oh, it's really convenient that they had a reason to have physical contact, and it was so nice of Amon to set up a situation.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you explained it better.
Mako
yeah.
and Korra?
In the revelation, Amon was like facilitating
remember
this like
she has to,
date
like,
from them.
You grab his arm.
And she's like, oh, it's more realistic if we do this.
Episode 4, Tarlok ships Zutara because he hates Tenzin. Therefore, I'm paraphrasing. Therefore, the council will vote in favor of Zutara canonness.
That might explain why the council is the way it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Also from episode 4, Zuko and Katara weren't in the flashback because they were off being canon, and that's why Amon is angry. He hates Zutara.
I swear to God, like I've seen people actually like say this stuff and genuinely mean it.
Yeah, I mean
oh my God!
Them missing from the flashback.
That's a real, yeah.
That's a legit one.
Yeah.
Episode 5, Hidden Zutara. Katara taught Korra, some of these I posted in the chat. Katara taught Korra healing so Korra can use it on teenage firebenders to continue the trend Zutara started. Therefore, Katara is unknowingly shipping Zutara, which was and is canon. And Ali was very offended on the podcast at that one.
Of course, I still am.
You were like vocally like, no. Also from episode 5, Jinora's tale about forbidden lovers, remember that, was a ploy to insert Zutara into Korra's love life. I guess because they're similar to Zutara. Therefore, Jinora wishes Zuko was her real grandfather.
I'm kind of surprised there was no hidden Zutara about Jinora's mentioning Zuko in episode 1.
Yeah, I don't. It's look. There's a lot of.
That's not
Zutara.
hidden. Sorry, that's overt Zutara.
Yeah.
There's a thin. You gotta thread the needle.
I understand.
Mel, will you be continuing Hidden Zutara on Seven Havens?
Listen, I call it as I see it.
Okay, so we have to see if there's evidence.
I like the concept of this.
Generations removed from the actual Zuko and Katara.
I can already think of
one. She's
Jane has long hair.
Zuko and Katara.
Yeah. Pavi ships Zutara because
Because her
We'll find out
airbending
why.
mentor has long hair, so he can't be related to
Yeah.
Aang.
Okay.
Therefore,
There you go.
I'm
Yeah, the
understanding
long
now.
hair came from Zuko. Okay, I
Hmm.
like it. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, now we're at the ending where I need to go through my notes to see if there's anything we missed. Okay, so while we do this, did we remember any? Mel, did you find the blog? Were you
It's
looking
not
No, I
through it?
important.
didn't. I tried. I
Okay,
couldn't find
It
it.
was when I was in Japan, so
I'll
it wasn't
find it. I'll
until
find
book
it.
4, or 3 or 4, because no, it was definitely 4. Um,
Oh, okay. So episode one podcast, it's going to air at 11 a.m. on Saturdays. Mel said, I just need to remember to get up at 11 a.m. on a Saturday.
It was
Um,
college.
yeah. Oh, there was apparently a 17-minute video of Brian explaining the rules of pro bending.
oh
This
God.
I
was
remember. I
it was
remember
it was
this.
it was meant for the animators, but they released it for everyone. So
Like by
we had all
accident?
the no, I think they intended to do it. I think it was like an extra that they released.
Mm,
So we got all the we knew intricately the rules of pro bending.
mm.
Okay. So here's another thing I did on the outline. So we learned in episode three podcast, we learned the name of the air acolytes and what they are because they didn't even, there was just these random people. We didn't even know they're called air acolytes. We learned it from Nick.com Republic City Interactive Experience. So I guess there was a flash game where you like did a little mini game and then you unlocked an area that brought up like bios of people and places. And so we learned about a bunch of details with what was going on because the early episodes don't like spell everything out. So that was something that was it's interesting our view of so yeah the Korra family tree was unlocked in episode three, so now we confirm Boomy is a non-bender. So it was interesting to see us kind of evolving, learning things throughout all this.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, Mel said I called Amon being Boomy a month before the show aired. What else we got? Oh, I didn't mention this about Ali, about Aang. You
Mhm.
said Aang appears in the flashback. Dat Beard.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh
remember
my
Yeah.
Dat
god.
Beard?
No.
You're like older Aang's so hot because he has Dat Beard.
That's okay. I was gonna say in a good way or a bad way, but
In
I
a good
guess
way,
yeah, that's not good.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, I
You
mean,
were into the beard.
I still like, listen, bald guys with beards, if they can make it work, they can make it work. But this was very much not it. Now that I've grown older and wiser, I
I mean,
guess.
I think it's still fair to think it's an
It's
okay look with it,
I
but
was I mean, even just watching it the other day, like when it's weird that when he looks up and like under his chin there's no beard. It was weird. Very weird beard.
I think it's gone retroactively more weird seeing him without it in the
I
movie.
I prefer 25-year-old Aang with no beard.
Yeah. Which we'll see if they retcon it all if he's when he gets the I guess at some point he has to have the beard, but I mean it could be temporary.
Yeah.
Because I
I mean,
guess
I would
Statuang doesn't
prefer
have the beard.
but Statue
But
Aang is like
statuing, I think, is like supposed to have
teenage
been
Aang,
younger.
like when Republic
Yeah.
Yeah.
City was starting to be founded or whatever. Also,
Yeah.
side note,
Yeah.
the staff on Statue of Liberty Aang, it's a fidget spinner. What's
Nice.
up with that?
I didn't notice this.
It's because the three airbending swirls
Yeah,
look like a fidget spinner.
I do. I was more looking, I
Uh,
was like, is there any connection to Sonam? But no, obviously not. It would have been too early anyway.
oh, yeah, that would be fun. Episode 11 podcast. There's unrelated, but here's a quote for me. Here's the thing with me and implying things from TV shows. I don't do it, which I think has been consistent. I don't like, yeah, I like spelling more things out. Oh, yeah, we're talking about the lack of queerness on our podcast. One thing, Sam in episode 12 said, Lieutenant being betrayed by Amon, it sounded like they were together.
Mm.
uh, which was kind of joking, kind of serious, but yeah. So there was Sam jumps in there with that right at the end. We get some Mon Lieutenant shipping, which I think is a fair interpretation of that scene.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
It's funny that of all the
we
pairs, it would be those two.
Lieutenant is very cool, by the way. I do like Lieutenant watching back. Very cool
I
design.
think it's
The way
funny
he fights.
that the only two people who are able to like take him out are Asami and Korra, and also Naga. Nobody else can deal with him.
Yeah, the Naga thing that was fun at the end. At the finale podcast, AV Club said she was contemplating suicide. This was a thing when she was on the cliff at the end, right? And
Mhm.
we discussed it seriously. A lot of you guys agree. I said I don't buy it, but yeah, that was a discussion. Was Korra contemplating suicide in the finale?
Mhm.
I don't have too much. We didn't discuss it for very long. Um, I think we hit everything from the art book. Was there anything else from the making of a legend? No, I mean, Brian says in Making of a, I mean, this feels a lot like the old series where they invaded the Fire Nation. We always knew that was going to happen, but in this one, it's kind of the reverse. I mean, the good guys are kind of invading again, but it's to liberate.
Hmm.
So I thought that was just a follow up to I was criticizing Day of Black Sun in the first rewatch about how it's like they're going in and they're like doing a regime change and they but here there's like an invasion but they're like trying to liberate a city as opposed to like conquer a city. So I think interesting political like commentary from Brian kind of briefly there. And I will say that this is probably. Oh, I wrote down in episode 3. Amon says, "Bending is the cause of every war." So it's like, is this an analogy for like weapons? Is this? So we could get into a whole discussion about that too. Anyway, let's start to wrap up. Mel, final thoughts. Korra Book One.
Final thoughts. I mean, l- liked it better than I thought I would, just in terms of general like appreciating what it was more as opposed to what I wanted it to be at the time. And in the context of the larger series, some things still, don't love. Some things are definitely cringy. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was nice to appreciate it as like what it was trying to be in its sort of like microcosmic miniseries. Um, and also getting back into like what was it like when it came out and being in college, being on my, dorm bed recording podcasts about it and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, not looking forward to the next season rewatch, but who knows? Maybe it too will be better than I remember.
Maybe it'll. I certainly will have thoughts having started this. I think it was a better time. No, at least it was I look back fondly of the core stuff in college. It was like such into. I'm hoping Seven Havens can replicate this at all. Oh yeah, I'll save that for my final thoughts. Allie, final thoughts on Korra Book One.
I mean, I do think I had a better time with it than I expected to, even though I'm lower on it than I used to be. Um, I don't know. I mean, we for all its flaws, I think we had it really good. I don't think we see a lot of television like this these days. Even
Yeah,
I mean, maybe like immediately after, like you were saying before. But in the last, I don't know, 5-ish years, I don't know if we've gotten it like anything close to this sort of like obviously production level and story elements.
I mean original. I mean this is a follow, but original world
Yeah.
fantasy show with
Mm,
incredible production. I
mhm.
mean we're talking like you like an Infinity Train. Like there's some, but it's pretty
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah. And also for me, not on this level. And like I know you're gonna say,
Yeah,
hopefully it will, like hopefully Seven Havens will kind of meet those expectations. We'll see. I'm still very excited.
definitely.
And I'm also more excited for book 2. I think I'm more forgiving of its atrocities than most people are.
Me and Makorra are already enough of an
Well,
atrocity.
yes,
Let's
but I
put
mean
no.
like plot
Uh,
wise and like villain and some might say retconning, but I am a big fan of the choices they made there. For now, we'll see. It's been a long time since I've watched
next,
book 2 in its entirety.
yeah, next up is beginnings for me, so I'm excited for that at least.
Hey, okay, you're
La-
getting to the good
my
stuff.
last things, yeah, finally. Episode 7, not my Cabbage Corp. I said this is a better post-Avatar cabbage merchant joke than anything I've seen since
Even in the
Avatar and
movie,
Korra. I feel like the movie stuff is
yeah,
not my favorite.
obnoxious.
So the stuff in the live action show not my favorite. But I actually think the Cabbage Corp like turning it into a whole corporation, I think it's kind of fun in Korra. So like at least they're on the right track here. Oh yeah, and then the episode 8 new team Avatar, we get it like when we start coalescing them, they're riding on Naga together. I was loving everything with new team Avatar
Hmm.
in When Extremes Meet.
The way
So
they like
excited
are
to see more of
so
them.
properly in sync immediately, it was like, okay, why
I
not?
love team avatars. That's my hope for.
It's the best thing
Seven
about
Havens. Let's get
Avatar is the team.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of Seven Havens, 3 things that make me more excited for Seven Havens after having seen Korra.
Oh.
After having seen Korra Book 1. Number 1, it was really fun having a big mystery in Korra Book 1, and I'm pretty sure Seven Havens will also have a big mystery in terms of how did the world end. So I'm more looking forward to that now. Like even if the solution is unsatisfying or like it's still just a fun element of Korra Book 1. Number 2, people are very worried that they blew up the world, and so it's going to like be what happened to all the world building. Well, to that I would say, having seen Korra Book 1, Republic City is already like a reset, honestly, compared to Avatar. Like it's really just a completely
1000%.
new world. So I know when we start getting into book three, like we're going to start, there's going to be some more, but like most of Korra, I feel like is a new world. So it'll be more extreme in Seven Havens, but like it works in Korra as a reset already, honestly. And then number 3, one of the biggest things, I'm worried about is the kind of tropiness of the there's 2 sisters and they're both maybe they're the Avatar, I don't know, but they're come different circumstances. One grew up great, one was in poverty. I'm like, I've seen this before, the star the star acolyte, like She-Ra, like it's like I feel like I've seen the story. But this season had a lot of tropiness and melodrama from the Love Square. And like I think it was generally kind of fun. So like I'm more positive on them doing like a melodramatic tropey thing than I was remembering. That's the positive outlook. So there
That's
you go.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm
so
very
I
excited
think
about the plot, like the potential like world building.
Yeah, for sure. I'll get more into the 2 sisters when we start getting into the show about how, but that's just very high level. So excited for that. So anyway, that's it for Korra Book 1. Very late here. Thank you, Melanelli, for toughing it out.
Thank you for talking
be back.
and making an outline.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was fun revisiting it. I can't imagine I'm gonna be as excited to dive into book 2 as I was.
Come on, guys.
But at least I will revisit some of the podcasts and skip around. But
there's good elements Makorra breaks up, so
maybe our podcasts on early book 2 were amazing. Maybe our
no, I don't. Oh, that's what you say. Yeah, no, that's not going to be.
Like maybe we have good podcasts. I don't know. Anyway, let us know. Let us know what you thought of all. I mean, I'm sure we had good discussion on it, but were we just angry the whole time? I feel like that wouldn't be that fun to re-listen to. Let us know your thoughts on our Korra Book 1 discussion. Leave a comment on overlyanimated.com. Leave an Apple Podcast review. Leave a Spotify comment. YouTube.com/overlyanimated. You can leave a comment there. You can come to our Discord, overlyanimated.com/Discord. Go to the Avatar channel. Let us know what you thought. If you were in the Korra fandom, if you were someone who interacted with us, say hi. Tons of people, it wasn't Korra Book 1, but people are sending asks on like my Tumblr and stuff, like say hi to all that. And our patron and friend Michael was one of those people. Shout out to Michael. Just if you were in the Korra, share your memories if you were in the Korra fandom as well, and we'll get into it more as the seasons go on. The best way to support us, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our patrons. Steve, Michael, Phonician, Kent, and that is it for book 1. We'll see you guys for book 2. What are we ending on this time?
Oh my god.
We forgot.
We could do Boomy's Yahoo Scream. Or whatever. Yeah.
To replicate the book 1 finale. But do we remember it enough?
He does like a Yahoo and he claps too. You don't have to clap.
Okay.
I don't know if my mic is going to pick it up.
Okay, this is a fun throwback. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.